Hey guys, Darth Gloric here, back with part 3 of our Heart of the Woods playthrough. So, last time, everything kicked off, kinda. I mean, last time, everything really started to hit the fan in the best possible way. So, let's see, Maddie and Tara, things started to get tense between them. Because Tara just started to ditch Maddie because she's like, hey, what's the point? You're leaving the show anyway, so I'm just gonna start doing my own thing. Tara and Morgan got romantic, and they're kind of an item, and so that's super fun. And Maddie met a ghost named Abigail, and so she's keeping that secret from Tara because she wants to have her own thing, her own secret, and so that was really cool. She got tricked away by some sort of mannequin Tara replication thing that tricked her away into a blizzard, and she, at minimum, passed out, at maximum, died. So something happened with Maddie at the end of the episode, so pretty intensive there. And we are just about to catch up with her right now, actually. So if you're wondering, for you super eagle-eyed viewers out there, you might notice that the text on screen says, I'm not warm either, I'm not anything. You're thinking, hey, wait a second. Technically, wasn't the last line was, I'm not cold, is what I read. That is true. Technically, it's because when I was saving it yesterday, I accidentally clicked once, and so it went one more frame, so that's my bad. But the last text was, I'm not cold, and then now you're caught up. So that's all you missed. It says, I'm not cold was the end of last episode. So we are still at Maddie's POV, and so we are continuing her story, and that's fantastic because at the moment, the most action is going on with her. So, and she's my favorite anyway. So it's it's okay. I do have my I got off work and survived reward Rockstar in front of me, so I will be drinking that. That's probably what might be standard operating procedure from now on. Is me drinking my Rockstar. I might start having it earlier as my reward for surviving work and starting to record. So that might be a thing from now on. Anyway. So if you hear me take sips like that, that's because I'm obviously drinking. So. Plus, it's really nice to have something to drink in front of me because doing all this reading for a whole episode makes my throat dry and my mouth dry, and I read better and easier when I am not dried out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. I wish I could turn my little desk fan on me, but I think the air across the mic would be really super no bueno. So I'd love to turn it on, but I have not done so, and it is a pity because suddenly the little sudden burst of fall that came to Utah disapparated because in the morning it's a low of like 30, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 overnight and then in the early morning, but during the day it's been hitting 70 again. So it's a pain in the butt because it's hot in my room. So it's hot in my apartment. It feels like it to me. So it is a pity because recording when you're all sweaty and you're trying not to touch your brand new shiny toys, being my keyboard and my mouse, is really hard to click and not touch the mouse. It's hard as it sounds. So anyway, I have my trusty red bandana in front of me to absorb all the sweat that is coursing out of my hands because life is pain. Anyway, moving on though. So let's jump right into it. So like I said, the last frame was I'm not cold, and we are in Maddie's point of view, and now let's resume. I'm not warm either. I'm not anything. I'm not even sure I'm awake. All I can see is a vast, profound blackness. I realize my eyes are shut. Are they frozen shut? I try to move my arms to rub my face, but they feel frozen too. With great effort, I manage to wrench my eyes open. I'm flat on my back. Right above me is a familiar curved wood ceiling. The gray smudges in my peripheral vision are the pews where I sat and read with Abigail just days ago. I'm in the church. I try to remember how I got here, but all I have are glimpses of what happened. Waking up alone. The mayor dropping by unannounced. Following Tara. Not Tara. And then and then everything went black. Remember? Even nearly immobile, a shiver creeps up my spine at the thought of that thing. And after that, it comes back to me as an avalanche, running, stumbling, and falling, and being so from I can recall the dread as it happened, as I gave up when strength left my body and my eyelids couldn't even bear being open any longer. But how did I get from there to here? There's the sound of rustling cloth beside me. I force my head to turn to look. And there she is, warm, radiant, just an arm's length away. Abigail. I blink, expecting her to vanish, to be a figment of my imagination. Hey, there you go. There's the music is back, everybody. The atmosphere is kicking in, so you're like, it's awfully quiet in here. There's the music for you. Anyway, but when my aching eyes open once more, she's still there. Worry wrinkles her face. She saved me, didn't she? There's no other explanation. I muster the strength to smile up at her. She smiles back, though it doesn't reach her eyes. Hello, Madison. I'm glad you're awake. In the otherwise silent church, her voice rings out like a bell, the first words I've ever heard her say. I can hear her. We can speak to each other. Understanding pierces through my exhaustion. With that understanding comes a whole cascade of realizations. A million feelings rush through me, and I don't know what order to process them. Two concepts stand out among everything else. Her voice is lovely, and gentle like she is. I must be dead. She's just the realization. She's like, two things. Firstly, the ghost could speak now, and I can hear it. That's great news. Bad news is, I'm pretty sure I just died. So, that's a problem. Anyway, hang on though. It's getting real, kids. I'm hiking up the jeans. Because I do have my big fan that's across the room blowing in my general direction. And I feel the wafts of cool air as it hits me. And it's nice, so I'm hoping it'll be enough to stem the tide of sweat over time. And here's hoping. So I'm thinking that if I roll my jeans up, I could feel more air on my calves, and just maybe it could stop the sweat after I cool off. But who really knows, right? So let's go ahead and take a drink of the old Rockstar. It's cold, maybe that'll help cool me off too. Okay. My goodness, I am so stinking sweaty, it's awful. Alright. Abigail. I mumble the only coherent thought that I have. She slides from the bench she was sitting in to the ground, kneeling on the floor beside me. That's right, I'm here. She leans over me, the serene portrait of a heaven-sent angel. She's here. That can only mean one thing. My head doesn't hurt. My back isn't sore, despite spending lying on the cold stone floor for hours. I can hear and speak with Abigail. I died, didn't I? And you saved me and brought me back here? She rubs her face, a pained look on it that she can't brush away. You're not quite dead, but you're not quite alive either. Rather, you're somewhere in between life and death. Like me. That's the best way I can put it. I can tell that her tone is supposed to be optimistic, but to me, she sounds entirely too cheerful for someone narrating my own demise. Still, I suppose that is better than the alternative. Then, thank you. Her smile gets just a little bit smaller. Please don't mention it. Really, I'm sorry that we hadn't been just a little bit faster. If we had arrived sooner. She looks away, guilt twisting her face. It's okay, it's not your fault. Even in my adult state, I know that much. I shut my eyes, hoping that this might be a dream, and that when I open them, I'll be safe and sound in my bed at the cabin. I'm not, of course. There's nothing above me but stone. I force myself to sit up. The motion catches her attention, and Abigail lunges forward, ready to catch me if I fall. Oh, don't strain yourself. But there's still no pain or soreness. Instead, it's like each individual part has switched off and I have to reactivate them. Maybe that's not far from the truth. Once I've sat up, I'm able to stand without any issue. The heaviness falls away like a blanket. I think I'm okay. To demonstrate, I pace back and forth a couple of steps, feeling like I'm just stretching my legs. I reach out and flex my fingers, staring at their strange, glimmering transparencies. The whole time she watches intently, poised to intervene if anything goes wrong. Nothing does. I'm fine, relatively speaking. I look towards Abigail for approval with the most earnest smile I can muster. She visibly relaxes. I then sit down on one of the pews. Abigail sits down beside me. It's bizarre. Despite years of existential dread, I don't know how to feel about my own past tense death. Well, Abigail did say that it's not quite death, but it's not exactly life either. Obviously, it's got to be a bit more complicated than that, but right now it's helping to soften the blow a little bit. I look down at my hands. They're normal and clean, not bloating or turning purple like in the last few moments. The rest of me seems similarly plain. Apparently, I was well preserved. There's one difference I wonder about, though. I press my finger to the stone that we're sitting on, or at least I try to. But my hand passes right through, doesn't feel anything. Right. Next to me, Abigail does the same thing, pressing her hand in up to her wrist. She giggles and my heart skips a beat. I'd forgotten how it feels at first. It's kind of wondrous. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Once you get used to it, it's really quite convenient. It'll just take a bit of time. Abigail stands and gives me a huge smile, probably not realizing just how scary that thought is to me. I don't really want to spend however long it takes to get used to it like this, but she's clearly excited to talk. I am too, regardless of the circumstances, so I won't spoil the moment, yet. How long has it been since then? Since I, Pause, I got a drink. You know, random little side tangent. So, I almost completely lost my train of thought, actually. Oh, so work wasn't terrible. It, wasn't awful. It was a little bit stressful because, like, like I said, I'm a delivery driver, and the road was extra bad today. For some reason, there was like a higher percentage of idiots on the road today that were hell bent on getting into an accident with me. So that was fun. And I'm just trying to bop and do my own thing, middle lane or far right lane or whatever. But it wasn't a total loss because I got to go on the interstate towards one of the cities nearby, and I got to do 69 miles an hour. So maybe it wasn't all that bad. Anyway, ignoring that, ignoring the meme because I'm a child, and I was like, all right, speed limit 65. I guess I'll do about 68 or so. And I did 68 for a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, and I go up by 1, 69, baby, and I did that all the way, and it was great. Anyway, moving on. I have a child. Even thinking of the word died causes my throat to constrict with terror. It's not death, I remind myself. If I can feel afraid, then it can't be death. It's been over a day. You've been unconscious this entire time. I was afraid that perhaps I'd done it wrong, that you might not ever wake up. But here I am. I can see her eyes sparkle with tears. Despite the fact that I'm standing right here, even the thought of my demise almost makes her cry. Yes, here you are. How did you do it? I remember thinking that I was gonna die for sure. She looks away from me, fidgeting with her dress. As I said, we arrived too late to save your life. The cold had already set in, and you were so far from home. But we were able to save your spirit, your soul, the important part of you, and that's what you are now. A spirit? She nods. That's what you are too, right? Another nod. Exactly. Her voice is gleeful. I can tell she's excited by this. I can't blame her. After 200 years of solitude, I'm sure that I would be too. But for me, well, this is a nightmare, wrapped in irony. I came to Eisenfeld as a skeptic, and now I'm this. It's so overwhelming. What will my parents say, or my friends back home? And what about everything else I left behind? I never prepared a will or anything like that. I don't know what to think, what to feel. I suppose I should be grateful that I'm not truly dead, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm missing out on. Maybe it would have been preferable. I wish I could have at least said goodbye, especially to Tara. There's so much left unsaid. Yeah, the last time they got together, they've been fighting for days. They've been fighting for days, so that's got to be a pretty brutal way to part, you know what I mean? And Tara's gonna be, like, super upset. Anyway, wait, Tara! With a jolt, I turn to face Abigail. She flinches at how suddenly I move. Do you know if Tara's safe? My friend, the one who came here with me. I thought I was following her into the woods, but it was... The image of that fake Tara comes to mind, and with it a wave of dread. The memory of it is repulsive simply in how false it was, how unnatural. She's fine. As far as I know, she was never in any danger at all. I'm so sorry, Madison. You were tricked. Right. I relax a little bit. Tricked. Tricked by whom? Abigail looks uncomfortable once more. I'm not sure what name she uses now. The mayor of the village, whatever you know her as. Evelyn. So she's responsible. I'm not surprised in the least. The way she always seemed like a snake, coiled and ready to pounce. The bad feeling I got every time I interacted with her. So she must have come by the cabin just to scope me out. She'd probably been planning this all along. I shudder. Who is she really? Why would she want to kill me? I'll explain it later, but I promise you don't have to worry about her anymore. Clearly that's supposed to make me feel better, but it doesn't. Yeah, she's not a threat anymore, but only because she succeeded. I want to understand. I need to understand. Why would you want me dead? I guess I'll find out in time. I just have one other question. Earlier, when you were talking about saving me, you kept saying we? Who else? Now her eyes regain their previous mischievous gleam that I've started to recognize on her. Someone special. I'll take you to meet him if you feel ready for it. I think so. There's nothing to be accomplished by sitting around feeling sorry for myself right now. I've spent enough of my time in Eisenfeld doing that as it is. Plus, I'm curious to see who might have helped Abigail. Who else could have known about her this whole time, yet kept her a secret? I stand up and absent-mindedly offer a hand to Abigail to help her up too. She takes it, then drops it immediately. Eyes wide and awestruck, she stares at me as if I'd spattered a tentacle from my arm. Tears spring to her eyes, seeping out to form a thin river down her face. What is it? What's wrong? Did I hurt you? Your hand. I can feel it. She's right. I hadn't even registered that as different to me, but for the first time since we've met, I can actually touch and feel her there. She grabs my hand again, not standing. She closes her eyes as her fingers roam over mine, taking in the sensation. With anyone else, anyone on Earth, it'd be awkward, but somehow, with Abigail, I don't mind. It's a little endearing, in fact. After a moment, she seems to realize what she's doing. With a yelp and a sheepish expression, she lets go. I'm sorry, Madison, I just got so carried away for a moment. It's fine, really. My skin still tingles with the feeling, vivid because of the absence of anything else. Abigail also gets to her feet without my help. Together, we face the doors of the church. They look like they've been untouched since I was last here with Morgan and Tara. I wonder how they're taking it. I wonder if they even know yet that I'm gone. It's quite possible Tara hasn't even come by the cabin. It could be days before she knows. I push those thoughts out of my head, though. Doesn't make a difference at this point. I'm still alive and cognizant, at least in some capacity. For as long as that's true, then there's a hope that maybe I can get out of this situation. All I can do is hope and learn. Swallowing my fear as much as I can, I take the first step towards the door. Should we go meet your friend, then? Well, there you go. Maddie died. So, that's what happened. Maddie died. However, upside, she's now with Abigail in a more permanent fashion. And that makes that a win. That was the best case scenario, as a matter of fact. And how could you call that episode anything bad, you know what I mean? Where's my... Oh, there it is. It's calm outside. In the day or so that's passed, the weather seems to have also mellowed out. A thick layer of fresh snow coats everything, looking fluffy and inviting. A few clouds darken the sky overhead, but are nothing compared to the maelstrom that I got caught in. The occasional flakes that fall seem serene, not threatening. Of course, they pass right through me. Abigail leads me into the woods. I try not to pay attention to how I can't hear my footsteps in the snow, or how the cold doesn't bother me. It's convenient, sure, but it's wrong. Yeah, but listen to the music though, that's not wrong. The two of us walk side by side deeper and deeper into the forest. This will be the farthest I've ever gone since previously I'd never passed the church. Just like Morgan a few nights ago, Abigail seems to know exactly where she's going. Abigail, can you tell me a bit about what it's like now, being a ghost and all? Abigail's face lights up and she claps her hands together. Her steps become an eager skip. Of course, I'd be happy to. She clearly means it. Where to begin? I found it quite convenient personally. As I said before, we're not ghosts per se, but at least not in the conventional way, which is to say we're not dead. It's more like we're somewhere between life and death. You and I are now fundamentally bound to the forest, and to everything else in it. In the forest, everything is connected. She frowns deeply, puffing out her cheeks. This is harder than I thought. I laugh. I guess even after centuries, she never expected she'd have to explain all this to someone. It's fine, take your time. Everything in the forest is connected. The trees, the grass, the birds, the foxes, everything. And that includes you and I too. Connected? How? Abigail chews her lip as she tries to think of how to explain it. Her frown returns deeper than before. Finally, she just shrugs. Magic. Magic. That makes sense. Please, Abigail nods. I still don't know what to think. Well, the music just hard stopped. Anyway, I still don't know what to think. I've only just woken up. I don't know how long it'll take for me to process everything and accept it, or if I ever will. Everything she says makes sense on a conscious level. I'm sure I could ace a test if someone were to ask me questions about it. But when I stop to think about how it affects me, about how these are now the restrictions and limitations that bind me, I stumble over nothing and clutch at my chest, feeling sick. But it's an impotent gesture. It doesn't help me feel any better. How can I be dead? How did this happen to me? Of all people on Earth. This isn't fair. It isn't fair. I never wanted any of this. I never even wanted to be here. I can't keep my thoughts from spiraling. Every time I try to think about it, Every time I try to think about it, I'm just met with memories of dying and of fear. Fear for myself and for the future and what it might hold. Abigail rushes over, rubbing my back as she croons in my ear. Madison, it'll be alright, I promise. I know it's a lot to take in, but it'll be okay. I'm here for you. I'm here. I'm here. She repeats those words over and over, stroking my back until the moment passes. Dizziness fades in waves, and I slowly stand back up. In all, my little episode must have lasted seconds at most, but it felt so long. Madison, are you okay? I mean, yeah, I'm fine now. Or at least better, thanks. Her hand doesn't leave my back. Are you sure? We don't have to keep going right now. We can save this for another day. I brush away the notion. It's fine. Let's keep going. If I just sit and do nothing, I'm sure I'd feel even worse. If you're sure. Yeah, Abigail has to make sure to stay on track with watching out for Maddie, because Maddie is gonna spiral, as we've just seen. You know, if left to her own devices, right? So she has to be watched out for. We resume our trek. We also resume the drinking of the Rockstar. The silence drags on for a while. Abigail shoots me glances every now and then, as if I'll disappear if she looks away for too long. In a morbid way, it's kind of funny. I looked at her the same way not too long ago, but she was bright and radiant, and I'm dead, I guess. It brings a question to the forefront of my mind. Earlier, Abigail stops. I try to avoid eye contact. You said something earlier about Tara. How it wouldn't be possible for Tara to even see me? Correct. She speaks with measured words. Despite how excited she'd been, she's visibly holding herself back. Like any wrong word will set me off again. It's not too far from the truth. But I was able to see you, even before all this happened. Why couldn't she see me? Abigail lights up again, a look of pride beaming across her face. That was projection. I've had a lot of practice. I'll be happy to teach it to you too, but it took me some time to learn. I see. Decades. Abigail laughs nervously, trying to hide her slip. Decades. Holy crap. We lapse into an uneasy silence again. Well, that doesn't mean Tara will be able to see her. It just means it'll take a while. Like, she'll be middle-aged by the time she can do it, but she will, right? I mean, maybe. Anyway. We lapse into an uneasy silence again. I take deep breaths, trying to distract myself from the hundreds of questions weighing on my mind. But my breaths feel empty, the lack of cold wind glaringly absent if I focus on it. So I focus on Abigail. I would be too. She leads the way confidently, a passive smile rests on her face, and she looks more at ease now than I've ever seen anyone be. Yeah, because, like, you're, like, completely safe in the forest if you're a ghost. Every step she takes seems to push us forward, farther than any natural pace. The words she said earlier replay in my head about how the forest will help take us to our destination. We pass through a tree, but when I look back, it's meters away, if not out of sight completely. That's gotta be really disorienting. Magic. Being able to simply pass through any obstacle we encounter makes the walk much faster. Even so, I automatically step over debris or turn my shoulder completely to avoid scraping the trunk of a tree where I can. Yeah, that's just muscle memory, you know? That'd be really hard to train your brain not to do that no more, because it doesn't matter, right? I feel the heaviness in my chest start to fade as we trek on. Abigail catches my glance and smiles warmly. I smile back, genuinely now. Did you spend much time in the forest when you were alive? I did. However, I never traveled very far. Why do you ask? I was just thinking about how you know your way around so well. It kind of reminds me of the girl I met in the village, Morgan. I've had plenty of time to see it all. It's simple too, once you know how to do it. As long as you know where it is you're going, the forest will guide your way there. I'm certain you'll get the hang of it someday. I force an agreeable smile. She's like, yeah, totally. In spite of everything, talking feels good. Talking about anything, so I try to keep the conversation going. What was Eisenfeld like back then? Much the same as it is today, as far as I can tell. Quiet and isolated, we rarely had any visitors. Even news from the outside world or the rest of the country was slow to arrive. But I longed for it, for the stories that would occasionally make their way to us. Sometimes friends of my father would head to the city for a few weeks, taking the goods that we had grown and made to trade, and bringing back things we lacked. And they'd return with gifts for all the children, my sister and I, or the little boy across the road. Gifts and stories about wondrous devices they'd seen, or the marvelous people they'd met. Her steps slow and then come to a stop, and her eyes take on a far-off, dreamy look. When I was alive, I always wished to see it for myself someday. Instead, I had to satisfy myself with books, and with other people's stories. Excuse me. Her voice trails off, ending with a hum of satisfaction, remembering something but not speaking it. I wait quietly. It doesn't feel like the kind of moment I should interrupt. Soon enough, she looks over at me with what I've come to think of as her typical smile. Sorry, I hadn't really thought about those things in a while. It's okay. I hope they're not painful memories. She shakes her head. These ones aren't. What about you? There are so many things I want to know, but I hardly know where to begin asking. Abigail points up to the sky, devoid of any clouds right now. Machines soar overhead day and night, but I've never known what they are. Or watching as Eisenfeld becomes more modern, but not understanding. I want to understand. She looks at me expectantly, like I could quickly rattle off all the major inventions since her time and how they've changed our lives. From the way the corners of her eyes glimmer with tears, it's clearly just how badly she wants to know. Must be horribly frustrating. She mentioned machines overhead, she must mean airplanes and satellites. How unbelievable would it sound to hear that enormous metal craft can fly through the air and carry hundreds of people? Or about cars, or about how what? Brain, please! Or about cars, and how just about everyone owns one. There we go, for the love, I don't know why that was so hard. I'll need another 200 years and then some just to catch her up on what she's missed. And thinking about that, just for a second, I feel like maybe I understand her loneliness a little bit better. Abigail quickly straightens up, quickly realizing that she was being kind of childish. She adjusts her impeccable collar and dodges my eyes. Sorry, again, that can wait. You're fine. I'm sure I'd feel the same way in your position. After we meet your friend, I'll tell you everything you want to know, or at least everything I can. I'm not exactly the best storyteller, and I'm not very good at explaining why things work, but if that's still enough? I phrase it like a question, even though I already know what her answer will be. Sure enough, she springs toward me, skipping past like a stone. Oh, would you? I'm sure you're wonderful at telling stories. I could tell from the way you read to me back at the church, do you remember? Like I could forget? That's a day that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Is it? Why's that? She crowds close to me now. To be honest, she reminds me a bit of a film camera, zooming in, then out, then leaping past to focus on something else. Well, that was the first day we spent time together, right? And that's when you showed me your name. Abigail goes very still. Several times she looked like she's on the verge of saying something, her mouth fluttering or her half gesturing to something, but each time she stops. I suppose it was. I just didn't realize it was that significant for you. Of course it was. That day changed everything for me. I bite my tongue from saying more. Things didn't exactly change for the better. I mean, yeah, that's fair. But you met Abigail, like, that was worth it. That's when you and Abigail really started to get to know each other to any degree. And that's obviously a good thing. Anyway, deeper and deeper we go, and the forest gradually grows quieter. The rustling of creatures underfoot gets less and less frequent, and then stop entirely. The birds chatter less and then not at all. Even the wind settles down. Abigail is the only one who doesn't act any differently. She still hums to herself or glances over her shoulder to make sure I'm still there, like I have anywhere else to go. As we get further into the woods, the snow is thinner, and some places are totally without it. There are even a few patches of green, something that I'm pretty sure shouldn't be possible given the weather. Magic, Maddie, magic. The trees, which have been growing claustrophobically close together, start to spread out a bit more. I gasp when I see what's ahead of us. Gasp. A grove of immense trees, larger than any I've seen before, lies before us, like the redwoods back in America. They're so huge as to seem to hold up the sky. She says back in America. Where do you think they are? I mean, earlier that she was mentioning, like, you know, across the world. We paid thousands of dollars across the world. Where do you think they are anyway? I guess it never occurred to me to think that they were anywhere else but America. But obviously they're not, because she said across the world. So it's like, you know, and so yeah, and she's, yeah, like back in America. I wonder where they are. Anyway, I mean, she might have said, and I guess maybe I missed it, but I don't think that it's been said exactly where they are. Like even a continent. Like, which continent are you on? Like, let's start there. Anyway, they're so huge as to seem to hold up the sky. Totally bereft of snow, a few defiant branches hold leaves. They cast shadows over Abigail and I and everything around us. An aura of life pervades the area. My skin prickles. The sensation is vivid, running up my arms like a spark. More than the church, where we now feels like a holy place, something sacred and primal. As we pass by, I have the distinct feeling that I'm being watched from all sides. Then, the back of my neck is slick with sweat, and I brush my forehead as the pressure of being observed starts to hit me harder. What is this place? I don't mean to, but my voice comes out as a whisper. We're at the center of the forest now. These trees are the oldest ones here. They're the ancestors of all the rest. All of the life in the forest comes from here. I believe it. There's a quiet vibrance to the place. I walk a little bit slower, feeling as if I don't want to cause a disturbance. I trail behind Abigail, who looks totally indifferent to the atmosphere. It makes sense. She's probably used to it, and this place's luster has worn off for her. I can't help but gape. Without the snow that I've gotten used to elsewhere, this feels like a wholly different place, another world altogether. Abigail leads me around one of the massive trees, and my jaw drops even further. There, crouched in a small clearing, is the forest spirit from the other night, the same one that stood in the storm and scared the hell out of Tara and me. Somehow, it's much smaller now than it was then, though still several feet taller than me. Yet, one look into its piercing red eyes, and I know it's the same. It's been looking away, but turns to face us. Its body creaks and crackles as it moves, like an old door rattling in the wind. My breath catches in my throat as I fight down the instinctive rising terror. Pocks and scars decorate the bark that forms its skin. Although it has a vaguely human form, its body is clearly wooden. Little trees wind together, interlocking to shape its body. It regards me with a kind of indifferent stare, similar to when we first witnessed it at the church. The impossibly red glow of its eyes is subtle now, and the previously winding and dying trees look more like its body is merely hugging itself. I look to Abigail to see her reaction, but she just watches the two of us with a slight smile, waiting to see what happens. That's when it hits me. This is your friend? That's right. She acts as plainly as if she just introduced me to a fellow human, not a mystical creature. Abigail leaves my side to go to the spirits, and she nuzzles her head against its side like a cat. This spirit is the guardian of the forest. It helped me save you, just like it saved me long ago. It shifts slightly to accommodate her, standing a little bit taller. It makes no vocalizations, though, nothing close to speech. I see. I don't, really. Visions of its tall and imposing profile against the stormy sky really clash with what's in front of me now. But still, I know she's telling the truth. I take a fraction of a step forward, expecting it to bare its teeth or ward me off somehow. It doesn't react, though. Does it have a name? If it does, I don't know it. I just think of it as the forest spirit. I think back to how Morgan had first described it, as if the forest itself had come alive. I don't think she knew just how right she was. Its namelessness makes it feel even more wild and untamed. I can feel myself being regarded and judged by it, and I'm tempted to turn tail and run. I force myself to look up and to meet its gaze. When it stands still, it's unnervingly silent. It reminds me of a grotesque scarecrow in a sense. From my peripheral vision, I can see Abigail look between the spirit and I, probably wondering if she should say something more, or knowing her, wondering what to say. I preempt her. I've come to say thank you for intervening and for saving me. Abigail told me that you'd helped. I really don't know how I can ever repay you. I owe you my life, or, well, whatever's left of it. I'm not sure what I can even offer a supernatural tree spirit to begin with. Its eyes watch me impassive. I swallow the lump in my throat and keep talking. I don't know what happens now either. I'm still getting used to all this, but again, thank you. Then, not knowing what else to do, I bow stiffly and step backwards. Still, it doesn't react. The whole thing is awkward and uncomfortable, but as with everything else, I'm at a loss. I can't have a conversation with the thing, and the details of what exactly it did are sparse. It feels like a waste of time to come all this way just for a few sentences, but I'm not sure if it even I'm not sure it even understood those. It occurs to me that I have no idea how much the forest spirit knows or even cares about the affairs of humans. I guess it must care at least a little since I'm here. The spirit turns its head to face Abigail, who smiles and pats its side. She says something to it, but I'm too far away to hear what. Then, as wordless as ever, the spirit rises and lumbers off into the forest without a second acknowledgement. Abigail watches it go, then she turns and faces me with a bright smile. So, what do you think? She has all of the pride of a child with a new toy. I stare after the spirit, still barely visible between the trees. I don't really know what to think. I'm part grateful, part terrified, part shocked. When I saw it before, I thought it had to be a monster or something. It just seemed so ferocious and huge that I assumed it was evil. So seeing it like that is weird. It's certainly intimidating at first. When we first met, I was also rather fearful, but I quickly realized how kind and gentle it was, at least towards me. I'm still brimming with curiosity over Abigail's own history, but she's made it clear that she doesn't want to tell me yet, so I won't pester her about it. Why wasn't it enormous this time? It can make itself larger or smaller at will. The night that you saw it, it must have had a reason. And you're able to talk to it and understand it? Not quite. I speak to it and it understands me. It doesn't have any words or language. Some of its mannerisms I picked up over time. We've had quite a long time to get to know each other after all. Right. Abigail walks over and links her arm around mine. I startle at the touch, but more so how casual she is about it. Ready to go back to the church? Unless you'd rather stay here in the forest. I can imagine you'd be more comfortable with walls on a roof around you now, though. Yeah, I would be. Let's go back. Arm in arm, she leads the way back. There we go! Alright, to Morgan! Let's figure out what's happening with Tara and Morgan. I'm sure it's not going to be great. And again, they ain't dead, so at the same time, maybe it's not that bad. God damn it. We're in Evelyn's private drawing room. Tara is kneeling in front of the back door, wiggling a paperclip around in the lock. It looks like she's never done this before. Tara, let's go. This is a bad idea. I'm not leaving until I get in here. She knows something about Maddie. I know she does. I look around the room. I've been in here plenty of times, but I've never been into the connecting study. Evelyn hasn't so much as opened the door to it with me in the room. I'm starting to regret telling Tara about it, though, if we don't get out of here. I'm not disagreeing, but this isn't going to help. We need to... Shit! She hisses and pulls her hand away. Her fingers are brilliant red, and she holds them to her mouth. You okay? I think it burned me. What the hell? Screw this. Let's just break the door down. She takes a step back from it, and it looks like she's ready to kick it. I put my hand on her shoulder. I really can't think of a worse idea right now. She'll just end up hurting herself. Listen to me. We have to get out of here. Trust me. She doesn't move to kick the door, but she also doesn't seem to have heard what I just said. If she hurts Mads, I'll kill her. Tara vibrates in my hands. In this state, there's no telling what she would do if I weren't here to stop her. She'd probably be lighting a fire to the corner of the room or something by now. I can't let her get hurt anymore, though. I can't let anyone else get hurt. Listen, Tara, I've tried to force it open before. I think she has some kind of ward on it. No matter what we do, I don't think we're getting in there. I'm not sure what Tara hopes to find in there anyway, even if it is locked. I doubt Evelyn is arrogant enough to leave any real clues lying around in there. There has to be a way in. There has to. We'll get in that office, and we'll find out where she took Mads. I don't care how much weird magic bullshit Evelyn's got. We're gonna rescue Mads. Are you, though? Are you, though? I feel like there's not much to rescue at this point, but that's alright. Hey, just let her have this. Let her have this. Anyway. She still hasn't given up hope that Maddie's alive. I wish I could share her optimism. Oh, Morgan's on to it. Morgan knows. All I can feel is guilt. All of this is my fault. If I'd never asked him to come here, no one else would have been hurt. Tara, we need to go. Whatever burned you probably alerted Evelyn. She could be on her way right now. No, we can't give up now. Mads needs us. Tara, we need to consider the possibility that Tara wheels towards me and grits her teeth. I can't tell if any of the anger she's feeling now is for me. If it is, I can't blame her. She hasn't been willing to face the truth. Oh, that's definitely a typo. She hasn't been willing to face the truth of the situation, but she has to face it eventually. Then what, Morgan? That she just killed my friend? Do you seriously think she'd do that to Mads just for looking around the woods? Yes, I do. My voice is colder than I mean it to be. I instantly wish I could take it back, but she still doesn't understand. I get that she doesn't want to face the idea of Maddie being dead, but she can't ignore the danger we're in. The look in Tara's eyes, however, says that this isn't helping right now. I'm sorry, you're right. We don't know for sure yet, but we can talk about this later. Right now, we really need to. Behind me, the door to the room slowly creaks open. My heart stops. I can't move. I can't turn around. I already know what I'm going to see. Good morning, Morgan. Tara. Instantly, I dash between Evelyn and Tara. Nothing good can come from these two being in the same room together. I have to keep them apart. Evelyn just laughs. Just the sound of her voice makes me want to run, but I can't. You both seem to be so on edge. I'm sorry you don't seem to be finding my drawing room as relaxing as I do. Maybe it's time for some redecorating. How would you feel about more earthly palette? She crosses the room to the window and leisurely picks up one of the curtains, pretending to examine it. I can feel Tara behind me seething and getting angrier by the second. No opinions? You came in here uninvited and you'd think you could at least pretend to be polite. Now she glares at me. I can feel the temperature in the room drop instantly. I used to think it was something that was just in my head. I've changed my mind about it recently. It really is getting colder. You never could, though, could you? You never could play along. Always so obstinate. You have to fight every step of the way. Just like when you were young, always cutting your own hair short. Because nothing was ever good enough for you. The clothes I bought, the food I made, and you had to control just one thing. The rush of heat and cold crawl on the nape of my neck. A rush of shame. Evelyn's mouth twists slightly, just enough for into a smile, and she breathes a freezing laugh of pride. When was it you realized you couldn't even hold scissors anymore, and you ran around town begging someone to cut your hair? No wonder no one else ever wanted to be around you. I imagine that's why you had to look all the way overseas to make a friend. She shoots a glance at Tara, baring her fangs in a grin. She's not even trying to hide what she is. And, well, look what happened to them. That's too much for Tara. She's been quiet this whole time, maybe from the same fear that gripped me, but now she steps forward. I hold out my arm to prevent her from getting too close. What the hell did you do with Maddie? Evelyn turns back around to the window, barely acknowledging Tara at all, and stares out it absent-mindedly. You know, the forest is a very dangerous place. Every year it seems that there would be a new death. Someone would go missing in the winter. We wouldn't find him until the spring thaw. She looks around. She turns around. The look on her face is so placid and empty. I've never seen anyone so completely devoid of empathy. That's why they're off limits now. That's why we have a curfew. There hasn't been a death like that in almost 10 years. Something we're very proud of. She turns back to Tara again and takes a step forward. Somehow the room seems to get even colder as she does. That is, until your friend. It's honestly frustrating that she would ruin our record so selfishly. I wonder if she had any idea of the headache she was going to cause me. She shakes her head. She's smiling again. Enough of the bullshit. Mads wouldn't go out there and get herself lost. She wouldn't. She's way too cautious for that. You did something to her, and you're gonna tell me, or I swear to God. Evelyn looks up. The smile is gone, and her eyes are as sharp as her fangs. That is horrifying. Tara goes silent the moment those eyes are on her. I'm shivering now. I pull my arms close to my body. The air seems to crackle with ice. I try to take a step backwards, but Tara won't budge. I'm not sure if it's out of anger or fear. I've been so patient with you, Morgan. Endlessly patient with you and your friends. A mother's patience never wears thin. But then I never was much of a mother, was I? No, don't! I reach out my hand, but it's too late. Behind me, Tara slowly rises in the air. What? Morgan, help! What's happening? Her eyes are wide with terror. Tears well up in my eyes. I have to do something. Please don't. You don't have to. Evelyn's mouth shifts slightly to one side. She looks so disinterested. She doesn't even take pleasure in it. She barely notices us or what we feel. How many years did I give you the carrot, Morgan? How many? Eventually, you'll have to learn. And just like that, Tara shoots backwards and slams into the wall so hard the whole room shakes. Tara! She crumples to the ground in a heap. She's not moving. Evelyn doesn't move as I run to Tara and lean down to look at her. She's awake, still twitching. Tara, don't move. Just stay still. You'll be okay. Well then, please make sure you put everything back where you found it. The maids have enough work as it is. My heart starts beating faster. The heat on the nape of my neck spreads down my back. But instead of the hollow pit of my stomach that's supposed to follow, I feel my shoulders stiffen, my breathing getting slower, more controlled. The edges of my vision start going dark. I feel myself biting down on my own lip. I look down and see my fists are clenched so tightly my knuckles have gone white. For the first time, I don't feel any fear, just hatred. With that, she turns away. The room instantly returns to a normal temperature, but I'm still freezing. Her heels click on the hardwood and get quieter as she leaves. She stops at the door. Have a lovely day, girls. Evelyn disappears and the door slams behind her. I still can't move. It isn't until Tara lets out a loud groan that I snap back to my senses. Are you okay? Did she break anything? I don't think so. Can you stand? She makes it halfway up before stumbling. I grab her and throw her arm over my shoulder. She winces and lets out a tiny whimper. Let's get back to the house. I've got a first aid kit there. As long as I get to lay down, we can go wherever you want. Of course, you can use my bed. Come on. She takes a few shaky steps before leaning against me. It's a start. I think you're going to have to take the lead on this one. So, you know, things are going great over in Tara and Morganville. You know, it's going fantastic, basically. All right, hang on. I'm opening my little guide real quick to the dialogue choices we need. I know the first one is in this chapter. So I'm just going to keep it open just so I am nearby. Okay. Alright, we're good. We are ready. So, Tara does her best to help me get her up the stairs, but whether it's due to its injury or shock, she's barely able to stay standing while leaning on me. Climbing a staircase is difficult, but at the moment there isn't really anywhere else I can take her. That's true. Rockstar break. When I open the door to my room, Galadura is in the center of my bed, cleaning her paws oh my goodness. Contemplatively, maybe, I don't know. She doesn't look up at us. Come on, let's get you on the bed. I half expect Tara to give me some kind of knowing look as she stumbles over to the bed, but she doesn't. She just nods weakly. Yeah, she's too broken for innuendos, Morgan. Tara collapses face first over the side of the bed. Galadura doesn't even budge as it shakes with the weight. She acts as if she doesn't even notice. Galadura, move please. No response. She just continues slowly raking her tongue over her paws. Ever since Tara and Maddie got here, she's been particularly obstinate. I wish I knew why. It's hard not to be frustrated with her, especially with everything that's happened today, but I do my best to just gently force her to move by climbing onto the bed next to Tara. Galadura finally looks at me, paw held indignantly in the air. There is plenty of room on the floor. Tara shoots back up, yelping and almost knocking me over. She doesn't seem to notice as she just stares down at Galadura with wide eyes. Did your cat just talk? Galadura cranes her neck around to look at Tara and then speaks again. No. Her voice is languid and drips out of her mouth like syrup. Tara's eyes dart back from the cat to me and to the cat again, hoping for some kind of concrete response. Yeah, I told you. Her face lights up with newfound energy. The lines of pain that creased it disappeared in an instant. I knew it! I knew I could trust you. Sure, it was weird she didn't actually talk, but I get it. Shy around strangers, that's vivid. That's valid, and also, big mood. But I knew it! I knew you weren't lying. I smile. After everything we've been through together, a part of me feels warm when she says that. My chest glows with a warmth that I've only felt around Tara. It's almost like it means something. Sorry. After everything, it should be obvious that she believes me, but Tara's sincerity catches me by surprise every time. Galadura doesn't seem to find it as endearing. She rises methodically, then paws towards the foot of the bed. I'm worried about her. Every month she's gotten more and more cat-like, but this was the first time that she didn't speak at all. And we're so close to the full moon now, she's not going to get much stronger than this. I can't help but wonder how much time she has left. Galadura, how you feeling? She looks up at me with bright blue eyes, alive with magic and intelligence. I feel hungry. Did you bring me food, Morgan? I don't think you did. She stares at me. The expression on her cat face is unreadable. I didn't. I'm sorry, Galadura. It's been a difficult morning. I look at Tara. You don't have anything, do you? I think I have a melted chocolate bar in my pocket, but can magical talking cats eat chocolate? Galadura regards Tara silently, her white tail swishing slowly across the bedsheets. Then, without saying anything or giving any other indication of her intentions, she turns and hops onto the windowsill. Galadura, wait! She turns her head back to me and gazes into my eyes. I feel like I'm being measured. I always feel that way around her. No, you wait. She turns away and swishes her tail lazily. I'll be back. And with that, she leaps from the window to the branches of the nearby tree. She slips through them like a rush of white water, and then she's gone from sight. Tara and I sit there quietly for a few minutes before she finally speaks. Your cat's weird. Yeah, a little. Tara smiles. I smile back, and we sit there together. Yeah, you know. A little bit high stress at the moment, kids, but, you know, it's fine. Okay. Galadura is gone for hours. I need to talk to her. Things have changed so much today. I think she'll know what to do. I hope she will. In the meantime, I tend to Tara. She protests at first, saying she's fine. I doubt she thinks that, but I want to confirm that for myself. No, I don't doubt she thinks that, but I want to confirm that for myself. Eventually, I'm able to convince her to let me look. Her back is essentially one giant bruise, but that's it. It doesn't look like anything was broken, at least. It's a relief, but maybe we were just lucky. Maybe next time Evelyn will do worse. There's no telling what she's capable of. And I can't let anyone else get hurt. So, what's the deal with gelato? I open my mouth to speak, but before I can, Tara cuts me off. I mean, I know she can talk, but please don't say she can talk. You're gonna say she could talk, and I'm seriously asking you don't. I want to know what her deal is. Promise me you won't say she can talk. I promise I won't say she can talk. Tara nods. Her name is Galadura. Tara stares at me for a moment before we both laugh. Okay. Her name is Galdorado. But like, why can she talk? I've met a lot of weird cats, but none of them could actually talk. Well, it's because she's not really a cat. Of course. Tara Cat tries her best to sound like she's completely understood the situation now, but it's obvious she hasn't. I take a deep breath. Galadura isn't a cat, she's a fairy. I don't know a lot more than that. I know Evelyn cursed her to be in that form. Her memories are hazy though, and it's only been getting worse. She wasn't always like this. She's been around as long as I can remember. She only started talking to me when I was 12, and even back then, she's forgetting she was ever a fairy. I'm worried that soon she's not going to be anything more than a house cat. Tara nods, seemingly taking everything in, and then she's quiet for a moment thinking about it. She doesn't really seem that helpful. I nod my head sadly. She used to be. I'd have never known anything about what Evelyn was without her. I bite my lip. For a long time, she was my only friend, the only one I could really trust. I still believe in her. I still believe she can help. I look away. Even if I'm telling her my story, there's so much that I'm not ready to share about growing up here. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. I know it sounds like I was just a lonely little kid looking for a friend, but I promise she has the knowledge we need in there somewhere. Tara starts to lean towards me while letting out a grunt of pain as she moves. I go to push her back down onto bed, but before I can do that, her arms wrap around me. She gives me a gentle squeeze, and I lean into her in response. I want to hug her too, but I know that wouldn't be doing her back any favors. So I sit there and let her hold me, try to take refuge in it, try to remember that I'm not alone. You don't have to make excuses. I believe you. And I'm sorry you had to grow up like that. It's their loss that they didn't stick around to see how cool you turned out to be. Aww, Tara. She pulls back and grins at me, that same goofy grin that I've seen hundreds of times before. But it's so much better in person than it was on a screen. And it's exactly what I need right now. Aww, that's so adorable. That's great. I love that. Everyone's feels. That was lovely. Tara and I wait out the day watching dumb videos on the internet. People after my own heart. Trying to take our minds off things, if only for a moment. They take longer to buffer than to watch. Sad face. I've been there. It's dark by the time Galadura slips back through the window. She's quiet, but even if I hadn't seen her, I'd still know she was there. Something about the air in the room changes when she enters it, the same as Evelyn. Galadura thinks that they were close once, but she doesn't know how, but I believe her. Hello, Galadura. Meowdy. Get it? I'm stunned for a brief moment. How was your hunting? She looks at me, and even if if ever a cat could give a self-satisfied grin, I swear she would right now. Her voice seems to luxuriate in it. It was good, Morgan. Much better than your hunt this morning. She jumps into my lap and rubs her head against my hand. How does she know about that? I know much about Evelyn. Her voice is deep as stone and rumbles in her throat with a purr. She stops rubbing on my hand for a moment and looks up at me. And Evelyn knows everything about you. What did you think would happen, cursed child? I hate when she calls me that. I've spent years dealing with it looming over me, and the last thing I want is her rubbing it in. Even more, I hate that she's right. I should have known this would happen. I should have kept Tara from going to the office. But I never imagined Evelyn was that strong, and Tara's paying the price for my failure. Evelyn is as good a hunter as any cat. She'll never let her prized vessel out of her sight. She's watching you even now, Morgan. And when the moon is full, she will finally strike. And then, still in my lap, she curls up and closes her eyes. I'm not going to get any more out of her tonight. Tara doesn't say anything for a while. She looks contemplative even, but when she does speak, she asks the question I knew she would. Why'd she call you cursed? I wish I could lie. It would be the first time I'd ever wanted to lie to someone other than Evelyn, but I can't. Tara deserves to know what she's involved in. Because I am. Tara just stares at me, half in shock. She quietly waits for me to continue. I hesitate a moment before continuing regardless. Evelyn is not my real mother. My real mother died before I was born, and whatever Evelyn is, she took her body. She's done it to our family for years. Galadura and I pieced it together from town records and scraps of my mother's diary. Every couple of decades, she has to change hosts, and I look into Tara's eyes. This is the first time I've ever told all this to anyone. And you're next. Tara says the words, I don't want to. I nod. Evelyn's gonna make her move on the night of the full moon. That's what Galadura says. I close my eyes. I know she's right, but I don't want to admit it, even to myself. The full moon is so close. And then I feel a hand, grip tight on my own. I open my eyes and I see Tara staring back into them. Wow, that's a lot. And, it's really hard for me to know what to say here, but thank you for telling me. We're gonna stop Evelyn, and if it has to be before the moon is full, for whatever reason, then we'll do that, and we'll save Mads. We'll stop her, I swear. She's smiling so big and so broad, and she sounds so damn confident that I want to believe her. More than anything, I hope she's right. For the first time in my life, I want to trust someone. Dude, I freaking get that, though. Oh, there's a bug. I'm sad. Hang on, I gotta grab something. Give me a moment, fam. There, good riddance. The little bugger crawling on my rock star. Don't you know that is like a sacred object? I'm drinking that, you little jerk. Anyway, now he's a dead little jerk, so I wouldn't worry about it. And I'm still gonna drink my Rockstar. I mean, he was only crawling on the outside. Anyway, as disgusting as that was, let's move on. I'm starting to get used to it. Okay, we are back to Maddie. Okay, sorry, man. That stupid little bug threw off my whole groove. Anyway, I'm starting to get used to it just a little bit. I've done my best to keep a regular human schedule as much as I can. Going to bed at night, waking up in the morning. Even if they're unnecessary, they help me feel a little bit more like myself. Like, not quite everything has changed. Hunger or not, I'd kill for a cheeseburger or something, though. I don't know what I'd do without Abigail. She's never far from my side, and she's my anchor through all of this. Endlessly supportive and positive, I know that she views my circumstances, well, differently than I do. That she enjoys having me here, but I can't fault her for that. I still can't fathom the depth of the loneliness she felt, with nothing but a silent tree spirit for company. The days that we've spent together have been pleasant, though, but I still don't want to accept this fate. I can't. I rise from my spot on the stone floor. Sunlight pours through the stained glass window of the church, and has been for some time now. There hasn't been much snow since the storm that I was caught in. All of my time has been spent here in the church, or exploring the woods with Abigail. I try to see the charm in some of the places she's taking me, but they all feel the same. Hang on. See, now I keep feeling like I feel things on me. That stupid little bug ruined my confidence, too. I just had to check my foot, making sure there was nothing crawling on it. Alright, we're good. We're good. And he threw off everything. He ruined everything. Anyway. Trees and rocks and snow in varying combinations. The forest may be huge, but it's stifling in how repetitive it all feels. I keep hoping that Tara and Morgan might come by, so I could at least see them, even if they can't see me. So far they haven't. I look around the church, expecting to see Abigail waiting like usual, but she's nowhere to be found. Sorry. I can hear her, though, from just outside the church, singing. I move through the doors to watch. And she means that literally. She literally moved through the doors to watch. Just a few feet away, she stands with her back to the church and me. Her arms outstretched, but not fully. She sways softly as she sings. And God, how she sings. Tell me about it. Listen to her. Her voice has a, some sort of cadence, and not even the wind dares interrupt or quiet her. It's unreasonably beautiful. The kind of voice that if you heard it on the radio, you'd have to pull out your phone to see who you're listening to. Shazam it, quickly! And to think I get my own private concert like this. She faces the sky, and I don't need to be able to see her face to visualize the smile that I can hear in her voice. The song she's singing is wordless, but it's still beautiful. I wonder if it's something she came up with herself. I imagine her spending years playing with the melody, or maybe she's just making it up as she goes along. I notice that I'm not the only one watching. A small flock of half a dozen or so birds crowd around her feet, watching in rapt attention. They hop around, occasionally chirping to join in. She waves a hand and they flutter about, never perching on her, but never leaving either. From the trees, I can just barely peeking out. A young deer observes as well. It isn't close enough for her to touch, but close enough for me to count the spots on its belly. It's just like something out of a cartoon, where she's the fairy tale princess who's friends with the wildlife. I wonder if it's because of her in particular, or if the animals don't feel threatened just because we're spirits, not flesh and blood. Who can say? All too soon, it's over. Her voice fades away without wobbling, and the birds instantly disperse. The deer bounds back into the woods, invisible. She turns to face me. Good morning, Madison. I'm blushing. I don't know why. Good morning. That was amazing. Thank you. I hope I didn't wake or disturb you. No, not at all. Besides, if I'd known, I'd have gotten up early just to hear more. Aw, you're flattering me. No way, not at all. I mean it. You have a beautiful voice. Now she's blushing too. Thank you. How did you learn to do that without scaring away the animals? It wasn't really a matter of learning. It just happened naturally over time. I sing for myself, first and foremost. I think eventually they realized that I wasn't a threat. Seems like they were enjoying the show too. It's quite the compliment if even the birds like my song. There was a deer, too. You might not have seen him, though. He was kind of hiding in the bushes. Oh, was he? I'd have to introduce you next time. He's quite friendly, too. Really? You know him? Most likely. I suppose he could have been a new deer. I'd have to see him to know for sure. Nowadays, there are things called petting zoos, where you can pay money to walk around and pet tame animals, like deer and sheep and pigs. I've never heard of him just making friends with people, though. That sounds marvelous. Have you ever been to one? Not since I was a lot younger. They're mostly for kids. Adults in the modern world sound awfully boring in that case. Abigail walks to my side, standing close like she always does. I wonder if it's intentional. Together, we face the forest. She touches my arm so lightly that I wonder if that's intentional too. Well, she's probably pretty psyched she can touch anything. Imagine being a ghost for 200 years and you walk through and phase through everything. I imagine she's probably pretty stoked that she can actually lay hands on something. And like, that's gotta be awesome. It's the little things. If you're feeling up to it, there's some place I'd like to show you, here in the forest. It's one of my favorite spots. Of course, lead on. I'd love to see anything that you think is special. Besides, it's not like I have anywhere else to be. I refrain from saying that out loud. I am genuinely interested in what she wants to show me. I like spending time with Abigail. But I hope that she'll also be willing to answer some more of my questions now, too. Having fun together is nice, but it just feels like a distraction from the matter at hand. Speaking of hands, Abigail takes mine ever so gently. Let's go then. Also, incoming transmission. Sorry, my sister texted me. Anyway, she is modding her Skyrim, and she's discovering things about modding. She's discovering things about modding that seems so commonplace to me. Anyway, we take off at a brisk pace, but the distance falls away faster than normal. You know what, really quick, people, even without editing away, because I'm a funny dude, I'm gonna respond to her. So, she says people are strange. Why the flip would you make a mod that adds peeing to Skyrim? And I'm trying to think of the best, the nicest way of telling her. I'll be like, that's just the tip, not top, you stupid phone, tip of the iceberg. And I'll do a little winky face because it's all in jest. That's just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. It's true. Yeah, if you spent half a moment looking through the mods on Skyrim and Fallout, boy howdy, you can make it to a whole different kind of game. We take off at a brisk pace, but the distance falls away faster than normal. I am borne along by her boundless enthusiasm and surely more than a little magic. Surely more. Trees fly by at a blur, impossibly fast. It's like being on the train again. Like snowflakes, they melt into my vision faster than I can really notice. That's gotta be really disorienting. The speed is some gift of the forest, I imagine, a consolation for what it's done to me. Our footsteps are formless against the snow. We're walking in the air. Walking on sunshine, some might say. It's the same as when I first met Abigail. That feels like an eternity ago. For at least a couple hours more, I try to push those thoughts away so I can enjoy whatever it is she wants to show me. Yeah, Maddie, go with it. Try and live in the moment. I want to enjoy this, for my own sake. For her sake, too. Atta girl. Just like that. I have trouble thinking of anything other than her. The gentleness of her grip, the light and joyful way she moves across the ground, the certainty with which she pulls me forward. Yeah, there you go. Atta girl, Maddie. Every so often, she turns around to make sure I'm still there, although I'm sure she's very aware of our interlocked fingers. I know I am. Guess I can add that to the ever-growing list of things to sort through. Atta girl, Maddie. I finished my Rockstar, by the way, so there will be no more sipping breaks. At least until I have to get something else to drink because my throat's dry. We'll see. Guess I can add that to the ever list of things to sort through. Okay. We read that already. The forest shifts even faster than it did a few days ago when we went to visit the spirit. It changes too fast for me to keep track of it for any reference points. If I try to focus on one spot for too long, I get a little dizzy. So I stop focusing on that and just go with the flow. Yeah, I feel like that's got to be less. That's got to be less confusing. Eventually, Abigail slows our pace, and the passing of the forest reverts to a normal rate as well. At first glance, it seems like any other part we visited, but when I look closer, I start to notice small differences. Some trees are devoid of snow, with piles of it beneath them as if someone brushed them clean. Hey, we're back at the clearing. Others are decorated with strange, paint-like streaks of color, mostly blue, but some are white. On other trees, icicles dangle from the branches and give off a strange glow. When I approach to examine one, the glow dims. Abigail pays it no mind. This must not be strange to her either. I hurry to catch up, although she's only gotten a few steps away. We're almost there, just up ahead. Through the trees, I can already see where she's taking me. Splashes of brilliant pink peek out just ahead, mostly obscured by the barren brown trees. I don't even have time to be curious about what they are before we arrive. Whoa. A splendid grove of colorful trees spreads out before us, surrounding a small pond that must be enchanted. The leaves that hang from the trees are salmon pink, flecked with flickering lights. Lavender bushes crowd their bases, sparkling with dew or magic. While snow covers the ground all the way up to the shores of the pond, the trees themselves are devoid of it, much like the forest spirit's home. I wonder if the two are related somehow. Even more remarkable, though, is that the pond itself is also unfrozen. Its glassy surface is smooth, save for the occasional ripple that spreads across. It's small enough that I can even see across to the other side. It makes this place feel even more secret and hidden. You could wander the forest for years and never stumble across it. I move slowly towards the water. This place deserves calmness. Oh, Abigail, it's beautiful. The water laps at my feet, though remains undisturbed. Like a vampire, I have no reflection, a fact that I pointedly try to ignore. Where are we? What makes this place so special? This is one of my favorite places. Isn't it lovely? As for what makes it special, her eyes twinkle conspiratorially. Fairies. There's a beat of silence. I feel like I should be surprised at her answer, but I'm not. After everything I've seen, fairies are downright mundane. I remember her mentioning them before, too. I look around, wondering if I've missed them hiding somewhere, but I don't see anything. Abigail laughs. Just as decorators. They aren't around right now. They prefer the nighttime. They're far more active in the moonlight. You can see traces of them, though. As an example, she cups one of the icicle-like baubles that hangs from the trees. Inside, a faint light beats like a heart, dim enough to be invisible in the daytime. I'm sure they're around watching. I've only met them once myself. It may be years before you do. There it is again, the promise of eternity spent like this. I bite my lip. I think that's okay with me. I've had enough magic for 1 week. Yes, understandable. She walks back to the shore of the pond and sits down. I take a seat beside her. Really though, thank you for bringing me here. It's nice. I'm glad. I wanted to show you that not everything about it is bad. That unlife does have its own little moments of niceness. I look at her, but she's staring pointedly away, towards the pond, her cheeks redden a little bit. Unlife is a good word for it. Do you think so? I'm worried. I worried before you woke up that I would have forgotten how to speak or forgotten words. I talked to myself to keep it in practice, waiting for the day when I would meet someone again. That's why I sing, so that I don't forget how much I enjoy it, even if no one listens. I know that it's silly, but sometimes a bit of silliness can be what keeps me going. I don't think it's silly at all. Besides, if I could sing like you, then I'm sure I would do it all the time too. I could teach you if you'd like. Oh no, you don't want to know what you're getting into. You don't know what you're getting into. I'm pretty sure I'm unteachable when it comes to singing. You'd have birds flying miles away instead of coming to listen. She laughs. Come now, I'm sure it can't be that bad. I knew nothing of singing when I first started. I simply practiced and practiced. Everything gets better with practice and time. My singing voice has gotta be the one exception. My middle school choir teacher even told me that there was no way I could ever be a singer. Yikes. It was one of the most traumatic days of my 12 short years back then. In all of existence, out of everything. In that case, I suppose I must hear it just to know. You can't promise something like that and not demonstrate. Oh no, no way, not happening. What if we sing a duet? Definitely not. Oh, you're no fun. She playfully swipes at my shoulder. Are there any instruments that you do enjoy? Any that I've heard of, that is? Piano. I've taken lessons since I was a little girl. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I miss it. I flex my fingers staring down at them, remembering the feeling of keys. Even before coming out here, it was been a while since I played. I don't think I ever consciously stopped, it just happened over time. Most of the time, the only music I'd have the opportunity to listen to was during prayers or the occasional traveling performer. Sometimes I'd convince Mr. Braun, who played the organ, to show me some of the pieces he'd learned in the city. She says it with a sly smile, sharing some private joke with me. Do you remember the names of any of the pieces? I wonder if I've heard of them. Oh yes, there was, She bites her nail thinking about it. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. She squirms, wriggling around like she's hoping the memory will fall into place. Finally, she shakes her head. Maybe not. It seems I've forgotten. Do you think there's a chance, though? Are you very familiar from songs from, well, my time? Some of them, yeah. A lot of the most famous and respected composers come from those days. From this part of the world, too. Again, there's that general reference to wherever we are. Abigail sighs wistfully and looks off into the distance. I'm glad to hear that. They must be magnificent to be remembered so many years later. It's nice that they must be to leave behind a legacy, to be missed. To be missed. The way she says it is wistful, a dreamy sigh, like something that she longs for. I glance over, half expecting her to be crying, but her face is steady and calm. She catches me, looking and smiles. Sorry, just feeling a bit nostalgic. You don't need to apologize. I like hearing what's on your mind. I'm glad. It would be rather unfortunate if after everything we didn't get along. We both laugh at the idea. I do have another question, though. A personal one. I know you said I could ask you anything, but I meant it. Please, go ahead. Well, before, you said that you'd never even tried to go back, escape, whatever the right word for it might be. Why is that? Doesn't it bother you being stuck like this? Abigail scratches the soft dirt beneath us. Her fingers move impotently through it, changing nothing. If you don't want to answer, that's okay. I don't mind. I'm just thinking of what to say. So I suppose that you've been thinking about a lot, right? How to go back? I nod. Almost constantly. I don't know if it's possible or anything, but don't get me wrong. I'm beyond grateful that you saved me and all. That you saved me at all. But it feels like we're so close to being alive, but not. Everything's changed, but at the same time, it's like nothing has. I don't feel much different, but everything's different. I have a whole life out there, or at least I did. I can't just forget about it, or move on, or give up, or something. I understand. She's quiet, and I wonder if I went too far. If I asked something that I shouldn't have, in a lot of ways, it's one of the most intimate and personal questions I could possibly ask. Then she shifts around to face me better. I didn't have much left once I moved on. My family and those I care about had no desire to return to them. And then time started to pass. At first, the days felt slow, torturously slow. I did nothing but sit around and mope, never straying far from the forest spirit who had saved me. But then, I started to explore more. I got to know the forest. To find moments of happiness. I was still terribly lonely, of course. It has been until you got here. But I can honestly say that I didn't hate it. I sang, I watched, I found my own joy where I could. Eventually, time left me behind. The people I had known grew old and died. I'm sure many forgot about me, long before I forgot about them. At some point, there was nothing for me to want to go back to. The rest of the world outside this forest is just a maze that I didn't know how to navigate. Here in the forest, I knew nearly all there is to know. There's no grief, no loss, no pain, there's just peace. Before I can respond, she stands up, brushing away imaginary dirt from her gown. Would you feel up for another walk through the woods? Perhaps this time I can show you where the wisest, most handsome-looking owl nests. It's been so long since I said hello to him. She offers me a hand. I take it, the obvious subject change, and she helps me to my feet. Sure, let's go. With a smile, she leads me back towards the trees. I mean, I can get that. I could get, like, why she didn't bother. Her life didn't sound all that great before, so now she's kind of a little more zen, you know what I mean? I get that, and I get why Maddie wants to go back, right? So I can see both sides. So many of the conversations that I have with Abigail are painful reminders, either the years of solitude she's endured or of what I have to look forward to in my own future. Both make me very certain of one thing: I'm glad that she's here with me. Heck yeah! Alright, switching to Morgan now. Back to on the whole what's happening with Tara thing. It's been days since Evelyn attacked Tara. Even Galadura spoke to her. Since Galadura spoke to her, days of fruitless searching for Maddie, and Tara is still trying to act like she's okay. She pores over every piece of local history we can find. She makes jokes. She tells stories. She pretends that she isn't losing hope every day we don't find Maddie. She's lying. It's her body that tells the truth. She pulls me closer when she's under me. She stays in my arms for longer than she did before. I doubt she even notices she's doing it, but years spent hiding my emotions have made me pretty good at spotting it in someone else. Is she doing it for me? For herself? Both? That's the only thing I still don't know. Morgan? I can hear Tara's voice calling from the kitchen. I smell the smoke a second later. I'm out of the bedroom before I realize I'm moving. My mind fills up with a million possibilities. What if Evelyn's already here? What if the cabin's burning? What if... I think I owe you a new pan. Tara is fidgeting nervously. A cloud of black smoke billows from the pan on the stove. I can't even tell what was supposed to be in it. Whatever it is, it's charcoal now. You guys don't have, like, a fire extinguisher in here, right? I let out a breath I was holding. I shouldn't have panicked like that. I'm just glad she's okay. We don't need one. Let me see that. I walked past her and grabbed the pan. Before she could say anything, I opened the door and tossed whatever it was in the pan into the snow. I run a rag under the tap and toss it to her. Why don't you get the smoke off the wall before it stains? I'll take care of this. I'm still coming down from my adrenaline. I have to make a conscious effort to say it as gently as possible. I don't want her to think I'm mad at her. She seems happy before being given something to do. She smiles and tries to salute, but with the wrong hand, and ends up slapping herself in the face with the wet rag. I swear she does stuff like that on purpose sometimes. Well, while Tara scrambles to duty, I start washing out the charred remains still clinging to the pan. After a few moments, Tara shuffles nervously behind me. You don't cook much, do you? Does not cooking at all fall under not cooking much? Because if so, yeah. Then why did you... Her eyes look towards the counter and I follow her gaze. There's a tray sitting there. It's a mess. A piece of clumsily sliced fruit, a cup of liquid, blackened toast. You were making me breakfast. Tara looks guilty. Yeah, well, you know. She looks down and starts fidgeting with her shirt. I figured that since we're leaving the cabin, it'd be a waste to just leave it here, and I don't know, you've been really helpful and stuff. I thought maybe I could pay you back a bit. I just wanted the food anyway. My mind reels. I can't utter a single sound. I don't really have any friends. The few people I'm on good terms with would never do anything like this. Evelyn stopped preparing meals for me the instant I could make them for myself, and even when she did, they weren't much more than leftovers of what she'd made for herself. It was a dumb idea. Sorry. She's like, no, it wasn't. My body moves on its own, my arms outstretch and wrap around her. Before I know it, I'm reaching up to her face and pressing my lips against hers. The minute I actually process what I'm doing, I pull away and drop my arms to my sides. We both stand there awkwardly for a moment before I'm able to speak. Thank you. You're thanking me for screwing up making breakfast? I'm thanking you for trying. Oh, right, I guess that makes sense. I doubt someone like her would understand why this means so much to me. She has good people in her life. Random acts of kindness must be commonplace for her. But for me, I've never been treated as anything but a tool. I spent years turning the idea in my head, thinking that I deserved it. It was easy enough to believe. So this moment means more to me than I could possibly say. Even if I actually knew how to talk to people, I couldn't do it. The best I can do is to try to repay it in kind. Maybe we can make something together? After all your videos you've taught me, I'd be happy to teach you a few things in return. Are you sure? I mean, I literally know nothing about cooking. All I'll do is slow you down. She's protesting, but the smile on her face makes it clear about how much she really wants to do this. Seeing that grin in person is way more radiant than seeing it through a screen. That's okay. I'll take the lead, we can go slow. I take her hand again, she squeezes it, and I squeeze back. Now let's start with teaching you how to use a stove without burning the house down. That's probably a good one to know, yeah. I grab some sausages from the fridge and toss them in the now clean pan before putting it back on the stove. Okay, so you're going to want to have the heat a little lower than the absolute maximum for this one. I figured the higher it went, the faster it would cook. Technically, you're right, but that's also how you burn things beyond recognition. I moved behind her and put her hand on the pan handle, pressing against her back to move her hand side to side. Keeping it in motion is a good way to make sure it cooks evenly. Right, cool. I take her through the basics. She handles instructions surprisingly well. It helps that she's eager to learn. After the sausage, we move to toast, then coffee. She's sloppy, but she makes it work. You're doing great. I'm impressed. Well, doing it with you is a pretty effective motivator. Very subtle. When am I anything but? We finish up with the eggs, then sit down to eat. She powers through her meal, finishing before I'm even halfway through. Holy shit, that was so good. Looks like you're better cooked than you thought. Oh please, that was like 25% me at most. But thank you. I definitely learned enough to surprise Mads when she gets back. The mention of Maddie instantly sucks some of the joy out of the room. Nice as this has been, I know it's only temporary shelter from the clouds still looming over our heads. Her smile doesn't falter at all, but I could see her eyes twitch slightly after she speaks. I wish I could think of something reassuring to say. I'd try just agreeing with her, but I know how hollow it would sound. But once again, she pushes it back inside. I know how she feels, although I have a much harder time smiling afterwards. And the best part is that when we don't have to wash any of the dishes since we're leaving after this. We're washing the dishes. Oh, come on. She reluctantly drags herself back to the sink. I remain seated and continue eating. She's like, come on, don't be a caveman, Tara. A few seconds later, Tara reappears casually. Hey, quick question. It should be okay if we leave Maddie's stuff here, right? I'd hate to have her come back and be missing all of her super important films. It should be fine. With us out of the way, Evelyn won't have any reason to focus on the cabin anymore. Hey, Morgan, can you come here for a sec? I jog down the hallway to find her staring at a hefty black bag sitting in the hall. What's that? It's Mad's camera equipment. I was just thinking that maybe we should shoot a video before we leave? Like film an episode? Not quite. More like a summary of what's happened, for reference. Kind of like a black box on a plane. That way there'll be a record. Something that could help anyone else who decides to look into this. A dead drop. She flinches at the term. It's probably probably a bit too morbid for her liking. It's worth a shot. I can help you film it. You sure? That's a professional quality camera. Even I don't know how to do half the shit it does works, but that's Maddie's domain. I'm sure I can figure something out. Can't be too hard to get the basics down. I grab the bag and sling it over my shoulder, then grab the tripod with my other hand. Alright, let's get to work. That's a good idea. You gotta make like a record, for reference if nothing else. Okay, so wait, hang on, I think I got it. No, that's just gonna access the archive. We need to get the focus right for the main shoot. Things aren't going well. Neither of us can figure out how to work the camera. My only contribution has been getting it on the tripod. Most of the terms Tara's using fly way over my head. She claims that Maddie's the one who knows all about how to make it work, but even her limited understanding is worlds away from mine. Sorry, I wish I could do more. Don't sweat it, you're doing fine. Lie. Maddie's never taught me much, so she, makes the videos, I just do the talking. Her voice is quiet, maybe this was a bad idea. All it seems to be doing is making her miss Maddie even more, and I'm sure as hell not good enough to replace her. At least I could finally manage to get the camera to the point where she's actually filming. Oh shit, you got it! She's humoring me. That picture isn't even close to being in focus, and I somehow managed to make the colors even more washed out than this place already is. It doesn't look anything like her most recent videos. I can do better. There's still things I haven't tried. Tara claps me on the back a bit too hard. She's so obvious. Don't worry about it. This stuff is confusing. Maybe the blur will make it look more mysterious or something. Sure. She leans against a tree in front of the camera. On her signal, I hit what I hope is record. I give her a slight nod, and she's off. Hello, everybody! Welcome to a very special, not quite an episode of Terranormal. We've had a lot of crazy shit go down in the past couple weeks, so Morgan and I are putting this together to make sure we don't miss anything. Who's Morgan, you ask? She's our inside woman, as they say. We wouldn't have found any of the stuff I'm about to tell you if not for her, and she's been a hell of an assistant, too. Mads would be manning the camera right now, but she's not here right now. It's complicated. Her voice dips for a moment before launching back to her professional cheeriness. So, where to begin? Well, I suppose I'd start with a crazy little story about a spirit, also known as the only time I've had fun in church. She launches into her story without having to take a moment to think about it. I feel like I'm watching her transform in front of me. Her uncertainty is gone. Her anxiety is gone. That melancholy she's had inside her since Maddie disappeared is gone. It's like she's glowing. I wish I could tell her how wonderful it is to see, but I know I'd never be able to say something like that. Anyway, that's pretty much all we have right now. Hopefully Mads will be back soon. I hear her voice shake for a fraction of a second. She corrects it instantly, but I know I heard it. I'm not gonna lie, there's some bad shit out here. Maddie's got caught up in it somehow, but it's nothing that's gonna last. Am I in danger too? Sure, but that's nothing new for me. Talking to a girl who just nearly got eaten by a bear because park rangers suck at their jobs. Am I just making this so we don't have as much to go over when we find her? The dry air out Wait, I'm so confused. That sentence made no sense to me. I'm just making this so we don't have as much to go over when we find her. The dry air out here is killer in my throat, so I could use the help. She coughs loudly. I'm not sure if it's real or just for emphasis. And Evelyn, if you find this, know that we're gonna make you pay for what you did. Her voice breaks again. This time it's unmistakable. Maybe this was a bad idea. She takes a minute before she starts talking again. Her voice is shaky. Her face is a strange expression I've never seen before. I'll do whatever I have to, you know? If you're watching, I want you to know that. Can you just give my friend back? Can you just do that now? I'll do anything, I swear. I don't care if we don't find any more evidence. I don't need anything else from this trip. I just want Maddie back. I can't watch this anymore. I leave the camera and run to her side. I throw my arms around her and I feel her body sink into mine. I'm sorry, Tara. I'm so sorry. I wrap my arms tighter as I feel her lungs give out. It's all I can do to keep her upright as she starts to sob into my shoulder. Unease settles in my chest. I've never had to do anything like this before. But I have to try. I have to do something. Hey, there's our first choice, everybody. Okay, I need to double check because we ain't fooling around with this. Where's my little cheat sheet here? Okay, hang on a minute. We're almost opening it up. I like how I was sweat-free for the last half hour, maybe? Very exciting, and it's back because it's like, oh wait, crap! He's adjusting! Quickly, make it wrong again. Because now I've just started to sweat again, so that's fun. Okay, we need to say, I should let her mourn. It is vitally important to say, I should let her mourn. So, keep her strong. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Oh, look at that. Like, the images are different. Anyway, I should let her mourn. Here's the record. You're seeing me click it. I should let her mourn. Anyway. Everything that's happened has been my fault. There's probably nothing I could say that would make up for that. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Just hold her like this. Physical comfort is all I'm good at after all. I'll take care of her. It's the least I can do. I lower her down to the ground slowly. I can't even feel the snow on me. Take your time. Getting it out will help. This is all such bullshit. Why would she take Madge? She wasn't causing any trouble. She grabs handfuls of my sweater, where her hands rest against mine. I don't stop her. I could have helped her. I could have talked this out with her, but I didn't, and because of that, I squeeze her tighter. There's nothing else I can do. I give up on thinking of what to say. I'm better at saying nothing anyway. I should have let her stay home. I should have listened to her when we were out here. She pulls away from me and sits down in the snow. Then she smiles. It's a bitter, broken smile. The kind of smile we can only form when you don't know what else to do. I just keep ruining things, huh? Tara, you aren't the reason the two of you came out here. I was. This is on me. She has to know I'm right deep down. I don't want her to hate me, but I'd much rather she hate me than hate herself. So I hold Tara. I hold her with as much tenderness as I can, and she breaks into heaving sobs in my shoulder. I feel her body rocking with loss and pain, and her hot tears fall and freeze on the ground below us. I let her feel the extent of her grief. It's a pain that I can never understand, the pain of losing someone important to you. Meeting Tara, I've only just started to know what that bond is like, but I can't compare to what she has with Maddie. Tara's wailing grows muffled as she buries her face in my chest and hugs me tightly. Hesitantly, I stroke her hair in return. Time passes. Eventually, Tara grows quiet. She sniffles and shakes in my arms, but relaxes with each breath. I never found any words to say. We sit there together until... Finally, Tara lifts herself from me. Her face is red and puffy. She gives me a weak smile and wipes her face. I start to pick up the camera. She cleans herself up. It seems like this might have helped after all. I should probably just leave it be and head back with her, but one thought keeps burning in my head. I have to tell her. Tara? Huh? I'm gonna make sure you get Maddie back, no matter what. She stares at me just like I spoke to her in another language. Then she finally gives me a smile that doesn't have an ounce of sorrow in it. I know. If anyone can, it's you. I'm not sure what she means by that. I hope she's not thinking the same thing I am. She probably thinks I'm just talking big, like I'm some brave knight about to go kill a dragon. I wish that was true. But I'm thinking about the only way I know I can save her. It's the only way I can. And that is to give Evelyn what she wants. Me. Boy! Captain, my captain, that is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Morgan! Morgan! That's ridiculous! Why would you give yourself to Evelyn? That's such a bad plan. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. That's really not smart. Okay, really quick though, I want to double check and make sure of what the other choice is. Okay, so our next dialogue choice that we have is in chapter 4. So, until the next chapter. We are good until the next chapter. Like I said, the dialogue is really easy to see because it's not exactly doesn't exactly sneak up on you, and it's not timed, so no fear. We don't talk on the ride back. Tara doesn't even fidget. I figured the wet pants would make sitting even harder, still even harder for her than it already is, but she's completely still. It isn't until we stop in the village that she speaks. I hope you don't think I'm mad at you for bringing us out here. You aren't? Nah. I know you just wanted to make something good happen for all of us. Things just happened. Things just didn't work out that way at all. At all. Besides, her voice trails off into mumbles. After a moment, she takes a deep breath and restarts. Coming here meant I gotta meet you, and I'm sure as hell not complaining about that. I'm sure you've met plenty of fans in person. Yeah, but you're not just a fan. Not to me. You're a lot more than that. What are you saying? She suddenly looks away from me. I think she's trying to hide the fact that she's blushing. Poorly. I don't know. I haven't ever met anyone like you before is all. For a moment, strange thoughts fill my head. I want her to say more than that. I don't know what I want it to be. I just want more. But I know better than to ask for that. If it helps, I haven't met anyone like you before either. Well, I could have told you that one. I am one of a kind, you know. No argument there. I'm having a hard time looking at her. I don't know why. This is a new feeling. I push it away and reach for the carriage door instead. There's a weird air in the carriage now. Let's get inside. We'll still have to figure out how much of your stuff we can fit in my closet. I mean, I could just leave some of my clothes on the floor. That's what I do at home. Not happening. I like being able to see my floor. Can't blame a girl for trying. I can't help laughing. She laughs too. Well, yeah, it's like they're realizing. It's like, what is this feeling? Yeah, that's you two actually caring about each other more than just some fun physical relief, all right? She's gonna be okay. I know she will, and I'm gonna make sure she stays that way. Back to Maddie. Back to Bay, as it were. Anyway. By now, I've all but given up hope of being able to see Tara again, but I can't abandon the idea without at least trying to get through to her. She deserves to know that I'm okay. Or at least okay as I can be, given the circumstances. At first, Abigail was hesitant about interacting with other people. I can't blame her. After 2 centuries of solitude, talking to 3 complete strangers within the course of a few days would be a pretty jarring shift. Despite that, she understands how important this is to me. She also warned me that we can't venture too far in the village itself. The magic of the forest only extends so far, and there's no telling what would happen to us if we went past it. The border of magic isn't clear-cut, so she made me promise to stay close to her. Just in case. I really am lucky to have someone as accommodating as her with me. Even if we fail, it means a lot that she's willing to try. I to her... What? I try to fill her in? I try to fill her in on what to expect from Tara and Morgan's personalities, doing my best to be as charitable as I can when telling her how likely Tara is to completely flip out when she sees a ghost. Once she's fully prepared, we make our way to the cabin. It's empty. Not a trace that anyone has been here in days. All of Tara's things are gone. That's an instant relief. It seems like a planned exit. Did you find anything, Madison? I can't help flinching as Abigail floats through the wall next to me. Incorporeally is one of those things I haven't been able to get used to. Incorporeality? It's like the act of being incorporeal. You know what she's trying to say, I just don't know how to pronounce it. I think so, and it seems like the two of them went back to the village. I don't even entertain the idea that she went home early or something like that. It's not in her nature. You think so? That sounds like it would be dangerous. Why would they put themselves in danger like that? I have no idea. Hopefully we can ask them ourselves. Abigail starts to back away, looking down at the ground. Madison, of course I'll do my best to help you, but I feel like it would be remiss of me if I didn't warn you not to get your hopes up. It took me years to be able to manifest myself. The chances of you being able to communicate with them so soon are low. That's okay. I didn't have much hope to begin with. I don't like being this dour about things, but I don't see how else I'm supposed to feel. She looks stricken by my words, and I hastily try to gloss it over. I mean, hey, you never know. If you can do it, maybe I can come along with you. The two of us together are bound to be able to accomplish more than we could on our own. Together. She looks down, grabbing handfuls of her gown. She agreed to come with me before, but it seems like she's having second thoughts. What's wrong? It's just that accompanying you would mean returning to Eisenfeld again. I haven't returned since, well, oh no, I never even thought to ask about that. I've tried to avoid talking about her death as much as possible. Strange as it sounds, it feels like it would be rude in a way, invasive. But I would have at least checked with her before suggesting we make our. I should have at least checked with her before suggesting we made our way there. I'm sorry, Abigail. I didn't mean to. To my surprise, she hurries back towards me and nearly bumps her head into mine as she closes the gap between us. You don't have to apologize, Madison. I agreed to help you, and I'm gonna honor that commitment. Besides, maybe it could be good for me. I can't avoid going back there forever, and having you there will make the burden of memory much easier to bear. Her conviction combined with her invasion of my personal space makes my face flush red, and for a moment it looks like she's worried she upset me. I give her the best smile I can manage. After years of making Tara normal, I'd hope maybe a bit of Tara's charm and social skills would have rubbed off on me. They haven't. If you say so, as long as you don't feel like I'm forcing you or anything. Not at all. You've been nothing but kind to me, Madison. I want to repay that kindness. If anything, I still feel like I'm indebted to her for saving my life, but I know she wouldn't see it that way. I've done my best to be polite, but I haven't exactly made my grand gestures of thanks to her. Thank you, Abigail. Really. Of course. Now then, shall we? Lead the way. Here we go, kids. Let's see if we can enter the village without dying immediately. Again, really. Every time Tara and I visited Eisenfeld, we were stared at everywhere we went. Now, seeing everyone walk by Abigail and me without so much as a glance is surreal. Abigail gazes at the buildings as we pass by, occasionally pointing out ones she remembers from her time. Her voice is a strange mix of excitement and melancholy. I'm not sure if I should encourage her mood or try to comfort her. It's complicated. As we enter the town square, we start to encounter large groups of people. Each time one passes by, Abigail grabs onto my arm and moves closer to me. Is she scared of crowds, or is it something about the villagers themselves that has her shaking? I'm tempted to ask her, but I think better of it. For all I know, this fear could be connected to the way she died. My mind runs wild with possibilities. Maybe she was burned as a witch or cast out of the village. This definitely isn't helping. I need to focus. Thankfully, it's not too long before we reach Morgan's house. I just hope they're there. More importantly, I hope we can reach them. You ready, Abigail? I'm ready. Let's go. Here we go. We phase through the wall and into the kitchen. And there they are. Tara and Morgan, sharing breakfast, close enough to touch. I'd give nearly anything to be able to hug them right now. My feelings are a mixture of guilt and elation and worry. And more than anything, I'm glad she's okay. Both her and Morgan. I need to talk to Tara. There's so much I need to say and ask. Tara, can you hear me? Morgan, this is delicious. How the hell do you know to make all this stuff? Apparently she can't. She doesn't even look in my direction. Most of it I picked up from older folks in the village. The rest I pieced together from random cooking videos. When all this is said and done, remind me to give those channels a shout out on an episode because this rules. I try waving my hands in front of their faces, hoping that maybe movement will convey what my voice clearly can't. Once again, no reaction. Morgan leans towards Tara, passing right through my hand. Maybe you'll learn enough while you're out there making a few cooking videos yourself. Are you asking because you actually think that'd be good, or just you want me to see another video where I almost burn my house down? Morgan shrugs and gives Tara a small smirk, when Tara chuckles in response, I feel another surge of sadness. I knew I shouldn't have expected this to work right away, but I'm still crestfallen. Having them this close hurts in a way I couldn't have imagined. All the time I spent being ignored while I was alive seems so trivial compared to this. So what's the plan for today? Got anywhere in town we want to be able to hit up for local lore? Most of the official records in town history are sealed up in Evelyn's office, so those are off the table. But we might have some luck checking out older buildings around town. She's done a good job cleaning up evidence of what Eisenfeld used to be, but maybe you'll notice something I didn't. Sure, it's worth a shot. Her voice barely contains a trace of the fire I'm so used to. I have to hope that at least the remaining trace is a sign she'll regain the fire someday. At least she's not alone. Morgan reaches out and puts her hand on Tara's shoulder, squeezing gently. When she speaks, her words are soft and strained. You gonna be okay? What do you mean? After yesterday, if you need some time to rest, no one's gonna blame you. Tara looks down at her feet. I can't read her expression, but the low volume of her voice tells me all I need to know. A quiet Tara is a worrying rarity. I guess a little time off could help me, as long as we can get right back to looking for Mads afterwards. Of course. I feel like I should be hurt that she's not focusing on finding me, but I'm not. I'm just glad that she got somewhere with her to keep her from burning herself out. I still don't feel any kind of power within me that I could use to manifest myself. Abigail's my only hope. I turn to her, trying to keep my voice level despite my desperation. Abigail, do you think you could manifest? Even if I can't reach him, maybe you can? Abigail nods, but she's frowning. My heart wasn't exactly soaring, but I can feel it sink even further. I'll try, but whatever power I had that allowed me to appear to you has felt much weaker since I used it to save you. Abigail closed her eyes and started to lift higher off the ground. As I watch, I feel a strange feeling in the air around me, as if it's bending around her, being pulled aside so that she can step through the border between our worlds. For a minute, it seems like it's actually working. I'm trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to say when I feel the energy in the air start to fade. Abigail seems to be struggling, furrowing her brow as she sways in the air. Her face scrunches, and guilt stabs me like a knife. Is she in pain? Abigail, stop. It's okay. Maybe if I just try a little harder. I reach out and gently take her hand, lowering her to the ground. She opens her eyes, breathing hard. As much as I want to see Tara, it's not worth making her feel like this. It's okay. I promise. We can try again some other time. Abigail gives a faint nod and stares down at her feet. Her hands ball into fists as her shoulders rise and fall. I'm so sorry, Madison. I don't know why this is happening. There aren't any rule books for this sort of thing. I don't blame you for not knowing about things people think are impossible to begin with. The disappointment I'm feeling takes a backseat to concern for Abigail's well-being. I've already put her through a lot by asking her to making her come here in the first place. We knew beforehand this was a long shot. I'm just happy I got to see him again. Are you sure? I'm not, but I know that if I tell her that she'll want to try again, it's better this way. I'm sure. You've done more than enough by coming with me. I look back to Tara and Morgan, taking what I pray isn't my final glance at them. To my surprise, Tara is leaning against Morgan's shoulder, while Morgan's arm is wrapped around her back in a loose hug. Thank you. As messed up as all this is, I'm glad that you're the one helping me get through it. Tara's voice is soft, and it carries a vulnerability I don't think I've ever heard from her before. Same here. We make a good team. Tara raises her head to look at Morgan, their faces inches apart. We should have a team name like the Dream Team or something. We'll work on it. I already had a feeling that the two of them had something going on before all this happened. I'm not that surprised, if I'm being honest. Stuff like this has happened before with her, but it's always a one-night stand or some quick fling, never the kind of thing that would merit real vulnerability. Then again, she's never been in a situation like this before. Maybe losing me brought out a part of her that I never knew she had. As if in response to my thoughts, Morgan leans forward and kisses Tara. It's a lot more than a simple peck on the lips. This is something deeper. So deep, in fact, that I have to turn away. It seems wrong to pry on something that intimate. Next to me, Abigail has also turned away. Her face is a bright crimson and her hands are close to her chest. I didn't stop to consider that this is the first act of intimacy she's seen in 2 centuries. For all I know, this could be the first time she's ever seen 2 women kiss. You okay? She looks up at me, slightly alarmed. That's okay. I just wasn't prepared for something like that. Trust me, I wasn't either. Abigail pauses for a moment, closing her eyes and taking a calming breath. A small smile crosses her face as her blush subsides, her wide eyes softening. It's nice though, isn't it? A love like that can give someone incredible strength. Yeah, I'm happy for him. I really am. Maybe this will help her cope better now that I'm gone. But we should probably go. I feel really weird being here for this. Of course, maybe we could try this again some other time. Her words lack conviction, but she didn't protest. I'll have to think of some ways to cheer her up once we get back to the church. Hey, do you want to maybe... The front door creaks open, all 4 of us freeze as we face the entrance. Evelyn stalks in and slams the door behind her. She doesn't say anything, but neither do Tara and Morgan. Tara is shaking, and Morgan places a protective arm in front of her as she glares at her mother. I shiver too, despite wanting to look away but feeling unable to. A part of me screams to do something, anything, to get her away from Morgan and Tara. Yet, there's a stronger part of me screaming, I need to leave, I need to get out of here, but I feel just as frozen as the day I died. Awkward! I feel Abigail on my arm pulling me backwards. She pulls my body through the connecting wall, and only when Evelyn is out of my vision can I breathe again. Abigail presses against me, just as stunned as I am. I try to keep calm, telling myself that she doesn't even know we're here, that she can't hurt me anymore. Evelyn passes through the door and by the corner where Abigail and I are lurking, and she stops. Slowly, her head turns to look to where we are, and that's where there's otherwise just empty space. She's so close that I can see her face contort in recognition and shock. Madison! I jerk my head back towards Abigail to see that she's already started to head for the wall, waving for me to follow her. It's enough to snap me out of my trance. I run to her, casting a backwards glance at Evelyn to make sure she isn't following. She doesn't move, but her eyes track us as we run. Right before I pass through the wall, her mouth opens. How? I don't stick around to find out what she says next. Abigail and I run as fast as we can, phasing through buildings and people with reckless abandon. After what we just saw, all other feels feel inconsequential. Yikes, dude! She can see ghosts! That's horrifying! You're not even safe if you're dead! I mean, at least from her seeing you, I don't know if she could do anything, but... Anyway, by the time we're back in the forest, it's clear that Evelyn has no interest in pursuing us, for now at least. Madison, are you okay? She puts her hand on my shoulder, pulling me closer to her. My head throbs painfully and my breathing is shaky, but her touch grounds me. I'm I'm not sure, but I'm a lot better now that we have some distance between us and her. I look backwards towards the village, half expecting her to come flying at us like some kind of demon. She saw us, Abigail. How is that possible? Abigail looks down at the ground, and I realize she's shaking as hard as I am. I wish I knew. Madison, she said something to you before she left, didn't she? Yeah, I didn't catch all of it, but I think I know what she was going to say. She looked shocked when she saw us, confused even. I think she didn't know about us being out here. Abigail's voice is barely above a whisper when she speaks. Her face is drained of color. But now she does. That's what I was just thinking. You sacrificed your anonymity, or you know what I mean? You being anonymous, you sacrificed it. The message is clear. As long as Evelyn is in Eisenfeld, we can't be. Sorry, Tara. Sorry, Morgan. But it looks like you're on your own. Yeah, it certainly does, doesn't it? Meanwhile, to Abby! This is our first time in Abby's shoes. How truly exciting. Anyway, this is cool. The midday sun sets high in the sky, setting everything aglitter. The vibrant music of the forest, the pitter-patter of dripping snow, the chitter-chatter of birds, and the accompanying breeze is especially loud today. The events of yesterday are a forgotten nightmare, and so today must be a dream come true. Madison stands with her back to me and to the church, facing the forest. Her head is tilted back ever so slightly. For the first time, she looks truly at peace. For the briefest moment, she's framed by the sunlight. Then, perhaps sensing me watching, she turns around and smiles at me, and I can't help but smile back. Without a doubt, the past several days have been the happiest of my extraordinarily long existence. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Yes, I did. It's getting a bit easier. That's wonderful. I know that isn't true. She tossed and turned and sighed until early in the morning. I know, but I understand. Whatever it takes for her to feel more comfortable, more at home. I wish that I knew how to help. For me, sleep was the last thing on my mind after I passed. I explored endlessly, backtracking over and over again until I knew every step of these woods. I made the most of my situation as best I could, and rather well, if I do say so myself. What would you like to do today? Let's go back to the forest clearing, the one where the fairies live. I'd like to see it again. My soul sings. Then out of everywhere we've been, that would be the place she wants to return. I rush to her side, drawn to her presence like a magnet. Simply being near to her makes me happy. A part of my mind screams at me that I don't deserve it. The same way that she doesn't deserve to be so miserable. Still, I put on my brightest smile as I touch her arm. That sounds perfect. I'd like nothing better. Shall we go now? Yeah, sure. They're so cute! As is tradition, I lead the way out of the church and towards the forest. The trees and branches part invitingly, familiar and old. I ask the forest to take us to the clearing, and I can feel it ripple in response. Not physically, but in my heart. I know that the forest is listening. It's difficult to explain. So much of this existence has become habit and routine for me that I keep taking for granted the difficulties Madison must be going through. The emotional turmoil, coupled with the way her own understanding of the universe itself keeps changing, I feel another pain in my heart at that, the stab of guilt once more for enjoying her presence. Madison accompanies me unhesitatingly, her steps more confident than they used to be. We walk side by side. I relish the closeness. I wonder if it even crosses her mind. Boy, it certainly does. Don't you worry about that, Abby. When we reach the clearing, Madison sighs contentedly, relaxed and easy. A tranquil expression settles on her face like a masterpiece of art. I'd like to spend the whole day appreciating that look if I could. The grown serenity is contagious. I also feel a little more at peace here. We head for the shore of the pond, as glossy and still as ever. I really love it here. It's so calm. I nod. Of course, we've discussed it before, but I don't mind. I can listen to her talk about anything for any amount of time. It actually reminds me of somewhere back at home. There's a little lake near where Tara and I live. Sometimes I like to go sit down there to think. There's a ton of geese and ducks around too. Sometimes they don't leave you alone, so you just have to ignore them. I envision a flock of birds surrounding Madison, all quacking and vying for her attention. Maybe they want you to sing to them too. Madison laughs, sweet and subtle. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. Nah, they just want food. It's really popular to go down and feed them. Moms do it with their kids a lot, but then the birds get so used to it that they think every human has frozen peas for them. Must be disappointed quite often then. Yeah. She trails off looking wistful. I'm sure she's thinking of home. I try not to ask her about her life before I met her, because I know that the memories hurt. To my surprise, though, Madison clears her throat and continues talking. I wish that you could see it someday, my home, in America. I think you'd like it there. I'm sure that I would. I'd love to see any place that you care so much about, all the buildings and the lights. I try to envision what it might be like, but it's futile. There's so much that I don't know, so many things that I haven't seen. Trying to imagine it is like trying to imagine a color I've never seen before, so no matter what she says, it's impossible to visualize. Even the memories I have of the few times I left Eisenfeld have long since faded. To me, the only world that exists now is the forest. I keep thinking, in your time, what would I have been like? Would I be the same person as if I never fell in love with films? Films? Oh, it's like a play that you can watch anytime. It's really compelling. I see. Madison moves her arms a little, looking like she wants to say more, but eventually she just shakes her head. She smiles a bit sadly. There are a lot of things like that. Films or events in history that are so normal to me, but I keep forgetting that you don't know about. If I ever say something that makes no sense at all, I can try to explain. There are lots of things I've wondered about, it's true. For instance, sometimes I'll see great noisy machines up in the sky. Do you know what I'm talking about? Madison giggles again, but I don't know why. Yes, those are called airplanes. They're kind of like giant they're kind of like giant carriages that carry people around. That's how we got from America to here. What? Don't tease me like that. There's no way something like that could fly. What? No, it's true. It's really true. They're the fastest way to get around the world. There are also things called cars that are much smaller and only fit a few people. But most people own their own car and use it to get around. Do you have one? I do. Why not use it to cross the ocean? She laughs again, and I don't know why. I feel a little embarrassed at the gulf of knowledge that I lack nearly as wide as the ocean that she claims to have crossed. But then she steps closer, placing her arms around me in a light hug. Again, I don't know why. But it's lovely. I feel myself relaxing, leaning against her arms, and just enjoying the closeness, the comfort, the affection. Far too soon, Madison relaxes and regretfully pulled away from her. She gazes up at the sky, and for a brief moment, I anticipate another lesson about the modern world. I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day, about how you've never wanted to leave this place. Yes, I'm far too cowardly for that, and in many other ways too. I don't think that's cowardly at all. It's difficult to leave behind what you know and feel what feels safe. In fact, it's really scary. I know that the two don't really compare, but before I decided to quit Tara's show, I felt the same way. Like I was afraid to leave just because I was so used to it being part of my life. But I decided that I wasn't happy with how things were, that I should just take the risk and change everything. Everyone has their worries though, that doesn't make you a coward. Madison half smiles, the side of her mouth curling up a little bit. If we ever do find a way out of here, maybe you can come back to America with me. She's joking. I'm sure that she doesn't mean it, or at least not fully, and yet my heart flutters like a bird taking flight. Even after everything that's happened, that she'd even have concern for someone like me. She truly is the most extraordinary person I've met, and as happy as her offer makes me, it hurts like a knife in my heart because I know that it could never be. I wouldn't deserve that kind of happiness anyway. Still, I smile back in kind. That would be nice. Would I have to ride on an airplane? Oh, definitely. People don't really take boats across the ocean to travel anymore, not nearly as much. Pretty much everyone flies. Isn't that scary? How does something so heavy manage to stay up in the air? It's kind of scary the first few times, but you get used to it. As for how it's possible, well, there's all sorts of science behind it, and that would take far too long to explain. Anyway, though, you could stay with me and Tara. We've got plenty of space, or we could help you find your own apartment. There's a lot you'd have to learn about the modern world, of course, but it'd be worth it, and we could help you learn. Madison continues on, explaining this and that procedure we'd have to go through and how we'd overcome each obstacle. I play my part, smiling and nodding along. It's an easy role. It does sound wonderful. In fact, there's nothing I'd like more. And though at first I thought she was joking, she's being completely serious. That makes it hurt even more, because I know it's impossible. I close my eyes to help hide the tears that have sprung there unbidden. Fortunately, Madison doesn't even seem to notice. Her voice trails off, and when I open my eyes, I see that she's looking past me, her eyes wide with awe. I spin around, fluttering about far too early in the day. Aha! Are those the fairies you were talking about? Yes. A handful of them flit amongst the trees and lights, paying us no mind. They move like dancers, their motions fluid and in sync with each other. As one rises up to adjust a hanging light, another fairy weaves between branches, carrying something in its hands that I can't see. Though I only spy a few of them right now, I'm sure that there are more just out of sight, deeper in the grove or otherwise nearby. Madison watches them with unabashed awe. What are they doing? I shrug. I'm not sure. I've never seen them out during the day like this. Usually they stay hidden in their hive until the moon is out. They aren't like humans. They're something entirely different. Although I've spoken with them before, I don't really understand them. Wait, they can talk? Like they can speak human language? Yes, and they aren't the most eloquent, but yes. I see. The only time I've talked with them was the first time I came to this grove all on my own. At first, they had tried to drive me out, but eventually realized that I meant them no harm. Since then, we haven't interacted. They're part of the forest too, right? In the connected way that you were talking about before? Yes. She makes a sound of acknowledgement, but doesn't say anything more. Whatever implications or meaning that might have for her goes unspoken. Ooh, there's more in this forest than we would have thought. Soon, the fairies disappear once more into the trees, whatever business that called them here finished. They go silently, not even the hum of their tiny wings reaching us. After only seconds, we're left all alone again. They weren't anything like what I expected. Really, how so? In stories, I wonder if I could hit enter to skip through these things. In stories I've heard, fairies are always smaller and look like little people with wings, not like what we just saw. Oh, I can hit enter! Nifty. And they usually live in flowers and fields, not the snow. But those are just stories, of course. I keep having to remind myself that this is real life, and that real life doesn't care about what happens in stories. Madison looks down at the pond. Gently, she places the tip of her foot into the water. Of course, the water remains still, like she isn't even there. She takes a tentative step forward, still standing upon the water. It supports her effortlessly. Her hands are slightly outstretched, as if she might lose her balance or footing or fall in. She turns around to face me. I had an idea, actually, about getting out of here. Do you think the forest spirit could help us? It's powerful, right? Maybe it could use its magic to make us humans again. We could even talk to it together. You'd seriously be welcome to go back with me and Tara. I'd like that a lot, actually. I can't even look at her, can't meet her eyes. All I can do is nod, trying to smile, and hoping that she doesn't see my tears. I'd like that too. Perhaps it could help. There's certainly a chance. There isn't. Her face lights up. Even the prospect of leaving makes her happy. Great, maybe we can plan together the best way to ask it would be? I just nod again. That's all I can do. Sure. Ah, poor Abby. I can't bring myself to tell her the truth, that no matter what she asks, what she says, there's no way the spirit could grant her wish. It's not just something that can be reversed. Her mortal form was destroyed by Evelyn, just shortly after I saved her spirit. As far as the rest of the world is concerned, Madison Raines no longer exists. Neither the forest spirit nor I have the power to remake her. There's no escape. Yikes, so Evelyn destroyed her body. Freaking yikes, dude. Chapter 4! And we still got approximately 9 minutes to go. Morgan! Back at Terratown. Sounds great. Another morning, nothing's changed. No progress, no hope. The only difference this morning is that Tara's still asleep. It's the first time I've woken up before her since we started sleeping together. I'm glad she's still sleeping. I can tell she needs it. I slip out of bed and dress silently. My next move should be heading to the shop. Sticking to routine is what's kept Evelyn off our backs. For now. The instant I start thinking about Evelyn again, I'm hit by a powerful urge to climb back into bed and wrap my arms around Tara, hold her for a little longer. I don't. She needs her rest, and there's still some time before she leaves. Somehow, thinking about that makes me feel even worse. I try to push the thoughts away, but her voice does that for me. Oh shit, what time is it? She's sitting up in bed, rubbing her eyes. She's still wearing her clothes from the night before, or at least the top half. But her sitting up doesn't mean she's actually awake. It's still early. You can rest more. No, it's fine. I got this. I'm just gonna go spend some time in the shop so no one comes to check in on us later today. Get some sleep. I'll be back soon. You sure? I move back to bed and kiss her forehead before lowering her onto her pillow. I'm sure. I'll wake you up when I'm back. Okay, cool. Thanks, babe. I mean, thanks. Dead silence. I know what you meant. Yeah, it's just awkward because they both care more than they thought they wanted to. What a bunch of children. I'm out the door before either of us can say a word. I don't want to think about that right now. I just need to get to the shop. Why not, Morgan? I'm so focused on that I almost slam into Evelyn the second I step outside. No need to rush, dear. My brain jumps to panic mode. Why is she here? She's never here in the morning. Did she come for us? The door isn't shut all the way. I could run back inside, grab Tara, get out. I know deep down that it's pointless to try. If she wanted us dead, we'd be dead. I don't know why she's sparing us. If she doesn't change her, but if she changes her mind, we won't get a warning. What do you want? Her mouth curls into a frown. Am I not supposed to take an interest in my daughter's life? I thought you had outgrown that phase. I grit my teeth. The sight of Tara's body being flung into the wall, Maddie's room and the cabin, hauntingly empty. She doesn't have to even pretend to be my mother. She doesn't even have the right to pretend to be my mother. I'm not your daughter. Morgan! I flinch as she raises her voice. I hate letting her get a rise out of me, but there's too many memories making me afraid of that sound. She just sighs and her features sink. She almost looks visibly hurt. Only almost. There's still something inhuman about her expression, something I've never been able to understand. You could be so cruel sometimes. You weren't always. When you were young, you were the sweetest thing. You would never imagine the things you would say to me so casually now. I clench my fists, have to keep it together. My nails push slightly against the skin of my palm. As always, my fingers freeze before they draw blood. I'm going to work. My voice comes out as a rasp, and I cringe at the weakness of it. She puts her hand on my shoulder as I try and walk past. Work can wait, dear. I'm sure your customers will understand. I have something to show you. I thought since you were so desperate to see in my office, I could give you a little glimpse of what I keep in there. Evelyn drops her hand, her lips twisting into a sickeningly sweet smile. If you're not interested, however, I'm sure your American friend would be eager to join me. Yikes, my blood freezes. I want to hit her. I want to scream at her. I'm not sure if it's fear or the curse she's placed on me that keeps me rooted to the spot. I can't even look up at her. She knows she's won. She always has. I can feel her eyes on me as she waits for me to follow her. Freaking yikes, dude. The moment passes and she makes a sound of affirmation. She turns away. Now come with me, dear. Great. Great! I figure out where we're heading a couple of minutes of walking. The forest. If she's taking me in there, then this could be it. Ah, here we are. I look back to the house for what I hope isn't the last time. What's going to happen to Tara if she wakes up and can't find me? What if she never sees me again? Tara. I mutter her name under my breath. Some dumb childish part of me hopes that she heard it somehow. It's better that she's not here, but I still wish she was. What was that, dear? Nothing. I ought to thank your friend. She's been motivating you so much easier. It's nice to see you caring about someone other than yourself for once. I'd almost think you were growing up if you weren't so stubbornly holding on to your teenage rebelliousness. I don't say anything. I keep my face blank. 1, 2, breathing. She pays me no mind. Great. Heaven knows what we're doing here. We walk into the forest, past the initial tree line into its depths. At least I know where we are, or I thought I did. As we keep on walking, I realize that I don't know where we are at all. I don't recognize any of this. The trees are different. These aren't the ones I know. They aren't even the ones I saw when we started walking. I have walked past this path dozens of times. There's no way I'm making a mistake. The branches blot out the sun even more than usual, and these shadows seem to blend around Evelyn. Freaking yikes, dude! I can hear the creaking of old wood in the darkness. It almost sounds like the trees are moving. I've never seen the forest behave like this. I've never seen anything behave like this. As we walk, Evelyn keeps turning her head to glance at me, probably trying to see how scared I am. I don't let my expression waver. I don't let her in. I won't let her in. She won't win this one. The things around me don't even look like trees anymore. They're too gnarled and rotten. They twist into shapes that should be impossible. They form walls around us as we walk, pushing us forward. I can't help drawing in on myself. It's like the whole forest is closing around us. It's getting harder to breathe. I feel like I'm about to be crushed by the forest itself. And just when I think I can't take it anymore, we break into a clearing. Ah, she's in the special super sacred grove! That's horrible. And in the center of the clearing is a beautiful, radiant tree. It's actually green. Real, brilliant green needles. The trunk is so thick and sturdy that the bark makes it look armor-plated. The rich scent of pine fills the air, and the shadows around us are kept at bay by a shimmering golden light. I can breathe again. Crisp, clear air fills my lungs. The awful sensation of the twisted forest are all but forgotten. I reach out my hand to it, but only reach. Something inside me tells me that I'm not supposed to touch it, that I'm not even supposed to be here. What is this? She ignores me, or at least I think she does. I don't turn around to look at her. I'm too transfixed by the tree ahead of me. I don't know how long I stand there staring, but after some time I notice the air around me change. My limbs begin to numb almost immediately. When I look back at Evelyn, she's glowing, an oily shimmer all around her body. But she's smiling at me, smiling. You were so peaceful, so calm. I can't remember another time when you were so relaxed. I hate to interrupt it, really I do, but I only have so much time to spend here. Do understand. She starts walking towards me. That's when I see the knife in her hand. Oh dear. I try to open my mouth to speak. I try to move my feet away from her. I can't. Completely still, impulse crashes against nature. My heart hammers in my chest. Every muscle in my body's frozen. I can't even shake. This forest spirit, it's so young. As small as it is, the power within it is enough to melt the ice in this place, to draw you in. You love it so much, even though you've only just met it moments ago. A rush of understanding fills me, the warmth, the peace in this place, a haven from the cold. We are the intruders. I always knew you were part of this forest, much more than any of the others. This confirms that. She grabs my hand and holds it up, examining my palm, running my fingers over its creases, as if it's like nothing she's ever seen before. I thought it would make you dangerous. It didn't. It made you weaker. She presses the blade to my hand. My mind screams at my body, desperately trying to get my muscles to respond. You're the one chance at success of escape, and you're weakened by it. She laughs to herself, like she knows a joke that I'm not in on. With a swift motion, she drags the knife across my palm. I stare in horror as blood trickles and pools from the open gash. Since you loved it so much, I wonder how it will feel for you to be the one to kill it. My strings are cut in that moment, and I fall over. The rush of sensations rush over me all at once. The pain, the cold, and ah! There's the scream. I couldn't make that cool. Sorry, y'all. That was so bad. Ah! There we go. Is that better? It's so bad. I scream out, clutching my palm. I turn and try to crawl immediately. My instinct shouting at me as I fall to my knees over and over. Get up, run, run. But it's too late. Evelyn grabs my wrist so hard I feel like the bones are about to break, and she swings me around and presses my bloody palm into the forest spirit. Before I can rip my hand away, I can feel a voice bursting forth from within. Insert, like, Elvish or some sort of language that's not English. Pain rips forth from my chest the more I try to hold the words back. I cover my mouth with my hands and stumble back in horror, but it's too late. An unexplainable sound fills the air, a hideous groaning. I know what it is. I do. I don't want to admit it to myself, though. It's the spirit. Uh-oh. Blackness moves up the shining green needles. The calming aura disappears completely, and it's replaced by something else. Pain. It's pain. I fall to my knees as the trunk begins to twist into itself. Bits of bark fall into the snow. The rotting blackness creeps up from its roots, and the unsteady trunk begins to sway. The needles wither and die. My head is filled with its suffering. I hear a crackling then. A black tar seeps out from the bark, smelling of death. Well, that's not good. It bursts into flames. No, 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 no! I try to hold my mouth closed. Incantations leave my throat in a voice that's mine, but yet isn't. Evelyn standing there farther back now, watching the scene before her. Her face is contorted into a terrifying grin. She's enjoying this. The crackling grows louder. My breath catches in my chest. And out of the corner of my eye, I see Evelyn, hand outstretched. No, Evelyn, don't stop! With a crack louder than thunder, the spirit's trunk splits in two. A beat of silence follows, and then I hear the screams. It comes from all around me. Something's crying out within the woods, a shrieking, earth-shattering wail. My heart breaks. It's not something in the forest, it is the forest. Somehow, the trees around me are screaming in pain. It's screaming now. I'm screaming now. I can barely hear myself through the shrieking vortex around me. I can't look. I bow my head, still screaming as the fire burns. Even the fire feels wrong. It's cold, freezing. Fire blooms around the tree, shooting high above the tree line. In one giant blinding burst, the tree is gone. All that's left is a circle of scorched earth. The burn is more intense than anything I've ever seen. It feels like it stretches down forever. Somewhere in my heart, I know nothing will ever grow here again. The screams start to fade. I slowly take my hands from my ears. Thank you for being such a help, dear. Really. You're a monster. How funny. Your mother said the exact same thing. You really do take after her. I can't gather my thoughts enough to respond. The screams are still echoing in my mind. Never forget this day, child. In the brief time you have left, I want you to know for certain that you don't stand a chance at changing your fate. You never have. None of you ever had, and when the time comes for you to serve as my vessel, I'll make sure the next one won't either. She reaches out towards me, and I prepare for the worst. But all she does is pat my head and ruffle my hair. You can find your own way home, I assume. I know how much you love these woods. She gives another chuckle as she turns and walks away, heading back into the shadowy trees. Freaking yikes, bro! She disappears into the darkness. All that's left is me and the disgusting burnt circle. My mind is blank, numb with shock. Quietly, slowly, one thought begins to take form. Pause! This is the thing! Alright, we have to say she'll pay for this, but now I literally already looked, closed it, and gotta look again to verify. Unlock, please. Okay, verifying. We have to say she'll pay for this. Alright, she will pay for this. She'll pay for this. She's tried to break me for years, over and over again. I've never let her, and I'm not gonna let her do it now. I don't care how powerful she is. I don't care what she did to Maddie. She's gonna pay, and Tara and I are gonna make sure of it. We'll destroy her, once and for all. We'll leave this place behind for good, together. And there's nothing that's gonna stop us. Heck yeah! Well, that's resolution. Beautiful. And that, children, is the perfect place to call it. So first, let's give it the old save. Oh, I keep missing because I'm sweating. I'm trying not to touch my own mouse. Anyway, that is where we are going to call it. What a crazy episode. So Maddie and Tara are getting closer. Or, no, not Maddie and Tara. It's Tara and Morgan are getting closer than ever, even though they try to deny that it's deeper, but it is, and they can't stop that. So that's fantastic. And, so, that's fantastic. Also, so that's going well. Abigail and Maddie are getting closer, which is definitely best case scenario, as it were. And so that's good. We have finally hopped into Abby's point of view to see what she's like. She's awesome. And that's great. And so amazing progress today. I don't know how many parts this is going to be total. Obviously, this is part 3. However, the first time I played this, according to Steam, it took me 8 hours, approximately 8 hours. So if that's the case, then that would mean that tomorrow, Friday, part 4 will be the finale, according to what this took me the first time on Steam. Now, keep in mind, it might be a hair shorter than that, a hair shorter than a full 2 hours, just because the first time I remember sitting forever when the choices were there, going back and looking things up and being like, is there multiple endings? How do I get the other endings? What do I need to do? Tell me this isn't the ending. And I was right, there is more than one ending. There's 2 bad endings, 1 good ending. We're going for the good ending, and we're not seeing the bad endings because, trust me, you don't want the feels will hurt way too bad, and you don't want those. Anyway. So, because of that, tomorrow, there is at least a fairly high possibility that tomorrow will be the finale, Friday. So, most likely over the weekend as well, I will end up recording probably at least 1 video, more likely more than 1. There's at least a possibility of more than 1. And, so I don't know what I will be recording, but there's a pretty good possibility of me recording something. Like I said, tomorrow is Friday, I will be recording, and the goal is most likely, like I said, it'll be the finale of this game, assuming, of course, that is at all accurate. And then Saturday, we can jump into something else. Maybe we will be responsible and jump into Saints Row 4 and nicely tie the bow on that playthrough, and we can actually jump on that, but we will actually end up seeing, and, you never know what I might do. I am a mad lad, so you never know. Anyway, that is going to call it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.